Here we are. Look at us on the internet. Woo!
Oh yeah,
Da-da-da.
hi.
Uh,
Hello, it's me.
welcome and greetings. To Ham and Prometheans chill hour. Well,
We need to have we need to get like a fire background and some smoking jackets.
yeah, just do that
Uh,
like tavern style, like the
yeah,
the
yeah,
writing room
yeah.
discussions. Get some
Big brandy
brandy.
tum.
Yeah,
Yep, yep,
yeah.
yep.
I'm 100% down for that.
I don't know if I've ever drunk brandy, but this could be a good reason to.
By this, I assume you mean the 2 days of games that will be played over at Ellie being the Dice Queen on Twitch, raising some cash for Ellen's cool Star Weaver theater project.
Yeah,
Um, that's exactly what you're talking about, right? Like that's what we'll need the
absolutely,
brandy for. Um,
absolutely, 100%.
how many games are you playing on that weekend?
Uh, Two by the sounds of things. I do believe they're back to back as well.
Yeah, I'm really
Uh,
looking forward to that. Same.
that's
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all of them being teenagers for two games, and those teenagers happen to be out in space.
yeah. All of the
Um,
teenagerhood, all of the space
yeah.
on the Saturday, and then I'm playing a Sunday game as well, which is
Oh,
just
holy
like
shit! What are you playing on Sunday?
I'm playing. I don't recall off the top of my head because it's not what we're going to talk about now. But I want to say, and this is absolutely incorrect. It's like Lady Featherstone or something. It's a super small little system. It's like a setup kind of scenario, I guess. Lady Blackbird, sorry, is the one. Um,
Okay.
it reads super cute. It's kind of based on the read through. I'm going to put it somewhere between like Teens in Space and like Mothership. Like somewhere in between those two things is where Lady
Okay.
Blackbird feels like it sits. And I was made aware of another space game quite recently, also. Um, that I believe you've been watching a Kickstarter for some kind of addition to, maybe for.
Oh, Coriolis.
Mm,
Yes.
that sounds cool as well.
Um, it is. I got the core rule book for that. Only a couple of months ago, and then found out that they were kickstarting basically the new edition. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
Um, it sounds like the Kickstarter is like the same world, updated rules, but that world potentially in a sort of different part of the galaxy, or there's been a time jump or something. So it's not you could potentially still use the two systems, but like I think they sell it at the beginning of the book where it's basically like Arabian Nights in space.
okay.
Like it's got a really strong kind of Middle Eastern theme to it. It's really interesting. It's really, really cool. It's by Free League, so it uses all of the very, if you've played like Aliens or Tales from the Loop or anything like that, all inherently the same system,
Haven't yet
with a
played
few extra
Tales from the
tweaks.
Loop, which is a bit sad. But I have played their Aliens, and it's been fun.
I need to run a Tales from the Loop at some stage as well. That's something else I've got,
Yeah.
which along with the 4,000 other things that we have across the various
Could
collections
you
of
run
various
all the
people.
games all the time, please? That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thanks, appreciate it.
cool.
Um,
Excellent. I'll resign from my job.
but hey, what we're going to talk about? So yeah, we're
Yeah.
playing a fuck ton of Teens in Space on the weekend, and I thought while I was doing some household chores the other day, hey, I'll just go listen to like a YouTube video to remind myself of what all the species available in the game are, and I can decide what I'm going to play for the weekend. I could not
Mhm,
find a
mhm.
single thing that did just that super simple breakdown of the different species and what they are available. So I thought, fuck it, let's just have a chat about that and do it. Um,
Yeah.
so allow me to first get out of that because it's not helping me at all. We'll just switch over. So we're gonna have a look at Teens in Space.
Hey,
Um,
Zoom's bad.
and this comes from who is it? It's Renegade Games. It is. That's right. Correct. Um, I'm just gonna breeze through this because I know you don't have a whole lot of time, sir. So we're just gonna jump straight into it and have a look through the assorted species. If you've not played the game before, it is ridiculously fun. Um,
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily very coherent, and it doesn't need to be. You can go check out Split the Party TV for a fun little like campaign. Some friends of ours playing Teens
Yeah.
in Space under Matt Brown, who'll be one of the GMs running this for us on the weekend.
Mhm.
Um, Get to the Spylocks, I believe, was the title of that campaign,
Yes.
and it was super
Uh,
fun.
amazing theme music as well.
All right, so let's go through these. So one of the cool things that they actually point out, I think a bit further up in the Teens in Space book here, is there's no like deep, like incontrovertible lore of any kind associated with any of these. Like you can take the ideas and you can do whatever the hell you want with them in the game, right?
Mm.
That said, some of the stuff that is in here for each of the species is really cool, and there's some really cool ideas and kind of tropes throughout. I think I know which of these I want to play for the weekend, and I'm keen to hear your thoughts, Hamish, on what you're planning to play before we jump in as well. I'm
Yeah.
literally just going to read a bunch of shit, so this might be nice to go to sleep to. We'll see. We're going to start with the Abyssians. I'm pretty sure these are in alphabetical order as well. Hailing from the aquatic planet of New Atlantis, Abyssians are a water-breathing species of humanoids because they require the specific water from their planet or something chemically identical to it to survive. They don't travel much. The most adventurous of their species, however, will purchase an exoskeleton that allows them to go out into the cosmos and explore. On their home planet, they live in complex and condensed cities, preferring to keep most of their underwater planet clear for other, less intelligent species. These open spaces serve as a combination of what humans would call parks and churches. This will jump around a bunch because I'm forced to use my dodgy mouse. Just deal with it. Maybe I can do that though. So they are humanoid and stand between 4.5 and 6.5 feet, and are generally thin. As with any kind of list of species, there's so much generalization kind of throughout this, but it's a thing that we tend to run into, I think. They have webbed hands and feet and large eyes. Their skin tones vary from extremely pale blue or green to very dark blue or green.
I get real kind of like Abe Sapien vibes from this.
What vibes?
Abe Sapien
Oh,
from
from
Hellboy.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Um, in my head, yeah, I guess I'm seeing kind of Jar Jar Binks as well in my brain. Like, what are they called? What's Jar Jar's
Terrible,
people?
I think, is they're terrible, the Terribillions or something like that.
Hey, it's
Um, the Gungans.
you can't
There
you
you go.
cannot make that statement in a franchise in which C-3PO exists. I'm afraid. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Right. Okay, that's the next stream. Okay,
It's- maybe we don't do like a Star Wars themed game around May 5th. Maybe we just have like internet fights about Star Wars
yeah,
stuff. I'm
yeah,
down for that. I'll take you on.
yeah, yeah. Bring it.
C3PO
Um,
is fucking annoying. The end of discussion. All right. Yes. You're saying. Sorry.
oh, no, yeah, look, I mean, it feels like it's your fairly kind of standard sort of, aquatic race. Um, yeah, and I can see here they've got so all of the races have got bonuses and drawbacks.
Mm,
And you'll see things like additional questions and suggested improvements and tropes. The tropes and improvements are aspects of the character building that's done through the course of making a character. But also sometimes that's also done in a group environment as well. It's very much like kids on bikes.
correct.
There's definitely parts of the character building which you do at the beginning of the session, and some of this will help inform elements of that.
And if you want to watch a game run by someone who does it really fucking well, then join us on the weekend because both Ellen and Matt are just
Oh,
brilliant
yeah,
with this
yeah.
game in their hands. They're amazing.
The last time, the last time we played at Teens in Space, I got to be inside you, and Tam pointed out that you got to be inside me as well.
You did. That's right.
Yeah,
We'll get to that
yeah,
when we get to those respective species. We'll have a
yeah.
little bit of reminiscing, perhaps. That was a fun time. That was a super
It
fun
was a fun
game
time.
too, actually.
It was.
Yeah, so the drawback, obviously, for these guys, they've got to remain in water similar to their planet in order to be able to breathe. Like, and you can do fun stuff with that in game, right? So you've got your exoskeleton. You're a fish out of water immediately if something happens to
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right? And your life is in imminent danger. So that can be super
Mhm,
fun.
mhm, mhm.
All right, we'll move on. The Ananos, I guess we'll go with. The Ananos have maintained a strong foothold on the grand mountain ranges of Mundershire, just as their ancestors had. An ancient legend speaks of riches beyond imagination buried just beneath the surface for those who search hard enough. A tale that fuels many an Anano to never leave their home planet of Mineria, with dreams of being the first to reach the promised prize. Others have spread across the galaxy in hopes of finding either help with their quest or techniques that the Ananos have not yet attempted, in exchange for a portion of the riches. At one point, the Ananos monarch decreed the enslavement of the Chumavan people, calling it an ugly necessity in the search for enlightenment. It was this great evil, amongst other lesser evils, that led the Inanno people to overthrow their leader in favor of a confederacy, with all efforts now pointed to redeeming their species' reputation and to making reparations to the Chumavans. Um, and so the first time I read through this, kind of having seen the bit where there was like, oh, we're just going to give you the basic bones of a species, having that kind of, yeah, you have got one that made slaves of the other, I was actually a bit surprised by it because it's kind of lore, deep lore kind of stuff.
Mm, mm, mm.
But it is, recommended as well. So the appearance of these folk, Ananos are squat and mole-like, with large cupped hands that help them dig without the need for tools, though some modify their bodies in hopes of digging more efficiently. Their brown, bristly skin is covered by a layer of dust and dirt, giving them a greyish-brown complexion. Their snouts are short and snubbed, so as not get in the way of their piggish eyes. Their legs, when standing straight, could be mistaken as a tree trunk, giving them an air of strength and stability. Did I say tree trunk? Tree trunk.
No, no, I think you said tree trunk.
Impossible to know. The average Anano is 6 feet tall, frequently maturing fully at the age of 10. Most need to look at the rings on the bottom of an Anano's foot to appropriately determine their age. This system does a really good job of just saying, oh, you're expecting humanoidism? Absolutely, fuck you.
Yeah,
That's not what you're
yeah,
getting. That's the one thing I
yeah.
do properly enjoy about these species is, hello, Saz.
It,
How are you?
so yeah, so this is an interesting one. I like that, like they've got their drawbacks, due to their stability, they basically can't be acrobatic, but they can't be pushed over or forcefully moved.
And like really can't be acrobatic. Like -3 is like that's a significant hit to
Mm-hmm.
take. Yeah, which is fun. The treasure hunty thing is kind of cool. I dig that. It's like, yeah, like everyone on this entire planet knows about this one fucking treasure, and we all want it.
Yeah.
It's a cute little thing. Um, it's weird because they kind of read like dwarf coded a little bit, and then it's like, oh, actually, they're like 6 foot tall trees. It's a bit strange. All right, next up we have the Benthosa. These are fun, and I think this is the species that I went with in that game that we played. While the Benthosa differ wildly in personality, size, and personal relationships, they all share a similar story. They each started out as simply a body of water, without thought or feeling. Then one day they awakened into self-awareness. For some, this awakening was peaceful or even joyous. For others, it was traumatic and violent. The Benthosa awaken into consciousness when their waters become highly populated by other living organisms. A benthosic entity's consciousness is completely dependent on the living creatures within their body. If disaster were to strike and wipe out life in an oceanic benthosic entity, they would cease to form memories, be able to communicate, or be aware of themselves or others. The life forms within them act as their sensory receptors. When a benthosic entity is densely populated enough, it is possible for them to split into two or more bodies of water that then develop separate identities over time. Communication for benthosa happens telepathically. With unfamiliar individuals of another species, this often starts out as telepathic bursts of emotions, images, and sensations, then eventually incorporates the languages of those individuals as more time is spent together. That last bit, I think we kind of skipped over in the game that we were playing, but yeah, that whole idea of a sentient body of water, like that has consciousness from just the stuff that's in it, just immediately appealed to
Yeah.
me running in that game.
Yeah, it's very, very different. Like when you think of, like playable races in
Mm.
most games, it's kind of it's the Star Trek curse. Everything is bipedal, everything looks vaguely personish, but it's got, you know, flange on the side of their head or something like that. Where this is just like you're a sentient
It's just
body
like
of
your
water.
nostrils are in a
It's
different
so
spot. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's an extra ear on your forehead, but it's just it demonstrates that they're willing to kind of go out on a limb with this and just go, hey, let's just do some absolutely crazy shit.
Yeah.
Uh,
The appearance is cool. So the benthosa can be small as a pond or as large as an entire planet covered in nothing but ocean. They can be freshwater or oceanic. It is possible for a benthosic entity to be transported from their home world via a special container or suit, in which case their default shape is the shape of that vessel. So I did kick around the idea for that game of a planet-sized oceanic body that was just gonna like trail around behind all of you and do telepathy at you. And then I realized that was probably a little bit too stupid, and instead I came up with the concept of a a comet that was kind of flung into existence at the beginning of the universe that turned to ice, that slowly picked
yeah,
up bits and pieces of
yeah,
stuff from its billions of years journey around the entire universe, and then crashed into a moon somewhere and formed a puddle. And that's kind of
yeah.
where I
That
cannot
was the
even
character
remember her
game.
name. Yeah, it was like based on the name of the greater galaxy system that we're part of. Uh, Laka something that means
Yeah,
something.
yeah. But it's
Um,
cool.
mm.
That's a very funky race.
Especially if you smell it too closely. Because life forms are gross. It's pond scum.
On scale.
That's right. All right. Next up, we have. Oh, look. See, that's making love to a benthosian. Just jumping in the pond there. All right, Calcians, created eons ago by a scientist whose species, called the Zeros by the Calcians, was ending. The Calcians were, initially, a way for his species to continue. As the Zeros died, they were recreated as Calcians. However, in the thousands of years the Calcians have existed and self-replicated, they have evolved beyond mere technological shadows of the Zeros and into their own species. Being entirely mechanical, most Calcians are interested in helping others manage their natural resources and broker peace treaties, both in the hope that they can prevent other species from suffering the Zeros' fate and to gain the resources they need to sustain their species. In addition to trading their helpful resources, Calcians are forever attempting to reduce the amount of energy that they require, both personally and in their vehicles and equipment. They're fascinated by renewable energies and by alternative fuels for spaceships. They also demonstrate a strong sense of responsibility to preserve and emulate what they view as the positive aspects of the Zeros culture, their music, visual art, and literature. A common source of pride for a Calcian is their collection of anything preserved from the Zeros, usually in replica. New discoveries of an actual artifact, or even a purported artifact, will draw excited Calcians from around the galaxy. I dig this because it's like, for me, it's like reverse archaeology stuff. It's like you've got this advanced technology that's kind of obsessed with its biological past as opposed to, digging around to look for ancient technology versions of cool shit.
There's you could have a bit of fun with some of this. What they've demonstrated a strong sense of responsibility to preserve and emulate what they view as the positive aspects. So you could have almost like you could riff off stuff like music. So you could have like a music obsessed
Yeah,
rocker
robot
team.
bard done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yep.
yeah,
Um, another one would be is you could have one who's obsessed with like the culture and just absolutely play it like C3PO.
No, you're absolutely right. You could do that. I assume it's because I've just gotten off the back of watching episode 4, I think. But there's like a bit of a Fallout vibe for this one for me as well. Kind of that, like, yeah, people existed back then
Uh-huh.
that are all a bit messed up,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
these are the ones who have that kind of sustained vision of an ideal past slash present, which I think
Mm,
is
mm.
pretty fun.
This is it's an interesting one.
And I think probably my favorite part about this though is the common surnames offered: 10110,
Yeah.
101, 100, or 01 are all common
Yeah.
last names
Oh
for
my
those
God.
critters. It's stupid. All right, the Cephalons. So, with their home of Calax V destroyed, the Cephalons were once thought to be eradicated from existence. Any surviving Cephalons have an intergalactic bounty on them, dead or alive, since they need to invade the host organism by entering through an orifice, usually the mouth, and then reside in the body, usually in the stomach, in order to procreate. Their highly ductile and resilient bodies have evolved over eons to survive in the harshest of environment, including within bodies of organisms that are actively trying to reject them. To increase their chance of surviving, the cephalon take over their host's nervous system and chemically alter the host body to be as malleable and resilient as their own. Complete side note: if anyone who's designing any kind of game wants to like just throw me all of the words so I can like do like a proofread slash edit over it, feel free. I'll do that any fucking time. There's a couple of janky word usages in there, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so these are parasites of the Teens in Space universe, I guess. Cephalons are small
Mm.
masses of gelatinous flesh that can shift the coloration of their epidermal cells to either blend into the background or make themselves stand out. They can communicate by expressing their thoughts and emotions in colors and shapes directly onto their skin. Cephalons have tentacles radiating from their central mass, which grow longer and more numerous as they age. These are used for locomotion as well as forming their neural link with the host body. Cephalons can stretch and squeeze their almost liquid bodies through impossibly small openings. They have 3 ocular orbs surrounding a central oral siphon and tympanic receptor on the top of their body. When they inhabit a host, they receive all of the information through the host's sensory organs. So this,
So
yeah, sorry, go.
I was just gonna say this is the sexy race, obviously, and
Yeah,
it's just like all pink fleshy tentacles. That's what
it's
everyone's wanting to
yeah.
get in with.
It's, as long as it's less than 10, we know Emily's into it, for example. I'm pretty sure we've established 10's
Oh,
the ick limit. I dig
yeah,
these
yeah,
guys. They're kind of like it's that, and you were talking about Star Trek earlier. It's that whole kind of shape shifting changeling kind of imposter vibe, but
yeah, yeah.
with the addition of it being like an actual parasite that's jacked in to its host, which is kind of cool. And that's always fun to play with. The drawback is a little bit harsh. I think I feel like surely this universe would have found some kind of way for these folk to exist in relative peace. But the drawback for a cephalon, if you're playing them, they're considered criminals for merely existing and are executed on sight in many sectors of the known galaxies. A dead cephalon is worth between 50,000 and 100,000 credits. A living one can be worth twice that, especially if they're wanted for possessing previous hosts. Poor little guys. They just try and do their thing, live their life. They do regenerate as well and can change hosts, which, like, in terms of gameplay, that's fun as heck, right? Like the idea of being able to change and switch up hosts. Fucking love that idea. Same reason I love the idea of playing changelings, even though I feel like as soon as you do it once, like everyone expects or suspects rather that like, oh, well, maybe you're a changeling, and it just makes any kind of gameplay after that so fucking difficult. Just until you pass
Yeah,
that barrier.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, to look through the Chumavan or Chumavan even. Once the proud owners of the sky. How do you own the sky? The Chumavan were for a time enslaved by the Inanos. During this time, many, if not all, Chumavan had their wings clipped to prevent escape, and some unethical genetic testing resulted in the race becoming flightless. Since then, the Chumavan have been freed from their captors by the galactic laws, which forbid slavery of any kind. Many search for ways to artificially retain their flight, whether it be hiring the Throgophil to create new wings for them, building and tinkering with various jetpacks, or training tirelessly to be the best pilots in the sky. Without a home planet to call their own, these nomads move frequently from place to place, some finding refuge in mercenary bands or within the bounty hunter community. Feeling like they are looked down on by others, they maintain an air of strength, bristling at the very suggestion that they can't do just as much as, if not more than, anyone else. So these are the bird folk, right?
Yeah, the flightless bird folk.
Flightless bird folk that like improve their lives with technology. Bless. Which you would. Like if you were capable of flight at any point in your life. It's why I always hated the idea of pet birds when I was a kid, right? Like one,
Taking away the
clipping the wings, two, putting them in these tiny little cages. Absolutely fuck that. This thing has like the entire sky to fuck around in. That would
yeah.
be the worst form of existence, was my call.
But with these guys though, this is obviously a generational thing. So by like depending on how many generations that they haven't been able to fly, is it like it's almost I know I'm gonna struggle with words. Um, it's almost like a genetically encoded urge to,
To
I
soar.
feel like I should be able to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't. Or it's just like, man, we've never been able to fly. So I don't know what the issue is.
It's
I
I wonder if there's any kind of weird genetic kickback behavioral traits in like the flightless birds of our actual world of a similar nature. Like, do you see ostriches every now and again just like launch themselves off a cliff going, yeah, I just really want it.
Yeah. Freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why there's so few Kiwis in New Zealand.
God. But you know, if you want to go for like the whole, you know, raptor as in bird raptor, or you know, raptor as in dinosaur type vibe, this is 100% a direction that you could go in.
Yep. NBC would be down with that.
Correct. Wonder what he's doing later. The Simexians. It's alright. This insectoid species from the Cymex system of planets usually serves the collective good of their species above all else. Much of their motivation to be part of the collective comes from the hive mind that the Simexians share while on a planet in the system or near another Simexian. While on planet, the Simexians regularly receive commands from their hive leader, who lives near the core of whatever sandy planet within the Cymex system they inhabit. These commands, intended to convey each Simexian's job to them, will function as a strong urge that will bother them until completed. Almost invariably, these commands are something to contribute to the greater good of the society, and will only threaten the well-being of another Simexian in the most dire circumstances. Any hive leaders found to be issuing improper commands may find their connection to the hive mind permanently severed, and find themselves exiled from the Cymex system. Some Simexians, especially after having a particularly onerous or distasteful task commanded of them, willingly leave the system to get away from the hive mind. There is little ill will borne toward those who leave Simexian society. Every member of the collective has thought seriously about leaving, but most believe that the benefits outweigh the costs. And at this point, I'll check in, just see that you're okay, because I know that you've been doing the Starship Troopers game, and I feel like maybe you've got like an itchy trigger finger at that
And then I just want to
description.
absolutely yes. No, look, I think this is fine. This is good. These aren't those. I can separate, one reality
One
from another.
fictional
So
reality from another fictional reality. I'm
yeah,
glad.
absolutely. I was more actually thinking like a race like this would be fun because you could just come up with the most impossible name to say, just like a collection of like words and clicks or something. Um
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even know how the fuck you would do it, but it would just be hilarious and everyone just calls you Roger instead or something like that.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Asterix Mandible Clicks Asterix.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna call you
But people call me
Mandy.
Nigel. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Excellent. No, I dig the idea of an insect species, and hive mind stuff. I love. Doesn't matter what setting it is. Doesn't matter what the context is. I dig the idea of hive mind shit, and of
yeah.
deviations from the hive mind stuff, and like that description. One of the things I think the descriptions of all of these species do pretty well in Teens in Space is they give you fairly simple, kind of easy to execute concepts for plot stuff and for like big
Yeah,
bads. If you're gonna run like a long running game with this
yeah,
system, there's just a few little nuggets of cool little things there that you can kind of take and go, oh yeah, absolutely. There's like,
yeah.
this deviant fucking insectoid is on the run from, an entire star system of
Uh,
the mega hive or whatever, and you can either help
yeah,
them or you can help track them down and turn them in for the bounty.
yeah,
Boom, there's arc one done.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect. Excellent. When are we starting this campaign? Are we doing
Oh no, sir, I am having enough trouble managing my brand new little baby one. Thank you. So sorry
that?
to tell you.
All right. What's the next race?
All right, next race.
Oh,
Go on, you say it.
oh my God, I don't even know if I can.
Go on.
Kamalisarians. There
Sorry.
you go.
What are Lasarians?
Ka- The
Kamalasarians.
cum,
Don't
the
mind if I do.
Kamalisarian.
Yeah.
God. Also known as
Kamalasarians.
space methods.
Space methods, yeah. Um, my fear now is that I'll start reading this description. It'll become immediately apparent that it's like Sumulusarians or something.
Yeah.
Kamalasarians. Thank you, Saz. Kamalasarians spend much of their time floating a few kilometers above the ground of their homeworld while observing the landscape below them. They're fully capable of moving on their own, but choose to reserve energy by floating within air currents. Oh, it's the clouds. It's the
Cumulusarians. Yeah,
Cumulusarians.
cumulusarians.
See, did I not fucking say
Cumulusarians.
that? 100%. I'm
Yeah.
going to call them
Yeah.
Cumulusarians anyway. Um,
Yeah.
When they need to replenish energy, a Cumulusarian will drift toward the surface where they will envelop rocks, plants, earth, and water within their bodies and absorb nutrients. And then become Captain Cumulusarian. Cumulusarian culture is built on honoring that which helps sustain them. After absorbing nutrients from a source, a Cumulusarian will take what remains and create a beautiful piece of art.
Wow. How did they create the art, do you think?
There is like a bunch of cool subtext. See what I mean? It just gives it to you. It's like, oh my god, the shit of these things is so pretty. It's taken forever to clean up, man. And they hate it when we move it because it's like their culture. Through a process of contracting and solidifying portions of the liquid droplets that make up their bodies, the Cumulusarian will reshape the materials, often fusing them together in intricate patterns. So it's like a weird kind of gross cloud-based elemental morphology version of, like that clickbaity kind of hot girl ties a cherry stem together with her tongue video that you see on like TikTok from time to time. Oh wait, sorry. You're an old man. I forgot. Are you on the talk though? Surely.
I am on the talk.
Okay,
I was
good.
I was looking at the talk earlier
Oh yeah.
and going, God, that's ridiculous. I need to go and back onto my rocking chair on my veranda and tell people to get off my lawn.
Excellent.
Um,
I use that example specifically because one popped up in my feed the other day. I was like, what the fuck? But then it was like a joke one where someone had just like a, I don't know. It's like the saucy equivalent of like doing one of those weird string tricks or something. It was weird.
so how does this relate back to the Kamalisarians?
Because Kamalisarians will stop to admire and appreciate each other's art. Hamish, that is how.
Oh,
However, as a species, they value each other's artistic vision and will never alter another's work. While it is not common, some Kamalisarians have been known to gather in groups of half a dozen members to create larger works of art. See, now I've just got like it's a group poo project. It's
well, I was more thinking it's just like they're all in like some little bookshop at night and they're wearing like berets, sitting around admiring each other's art and stuff like that. Like you could absolutely lean into some terrible, terrible tropes in that sort of respect with this stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They resemble small light pink clouds. They're generally between 7 to 8 cubic feet in size, and their shape is influenced by their mood. So it's like comic book shapes. It's like if you're, like wham, pow, bang, anger, sad.
There's definitely a lot of space to play with that.
Yeah, that could be fun to muck around with. Their resting shape is similar to that of a fluffy cloud floating by. When distressed, Cumulosauриans pull their forms into a tight sphere. If threatened in some way, they'll pull together tight enough to solidify into a nearly unbreakable ball, about 2 feet in circumference. Note, Cumulosauриans can communicate telepathically with each other over a short distance, less than 100 feet, but need to partially envelop a member of another species before attempting telepathic communication. So they're not big on personal space, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. How do those what were the cephalons work together, I wonder? I wonder if cephalon can inhabit a Camelosaurian
Well,
with all
yeah.
tentacles and the clouds and
It just like keeps
but it doesn't
dropping out and then having to go back in, dropping out again.
well, it's just like, I mean, the Camelosaurian doesn't really have an orifice to climb through. So
That's true.
so maybe they're impervious to the cephalons.
They're responsible for the 10 to 50,000 credit bounty.
Yeah.
Because they're the arch nemesis.
Oh my god, you could make a Camelosaurian like bounty hunter who's just out to get cephalons.
Just fucking up cephalians.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fucking consume you and make some art, bitch. It's fucking done. They are, however, intergalactically beloved is one of the suggested improvements. If you're playing one of these characters as well. What's their drawback? So they're susceptible to intense heat, which can evaporate the liquid droplets that make up their form. Heat-based attacks, including lasers against them, get a +3 bonus. Given the nature of the games that I know I played in the past, lasers aren't like a massive thing, but if you're playing like a proper kind of run of games, I imagine lasers would be pretty prolific in the universe. So yeah, that could hurt.
I think the other thing to remember that with this though is that it's teens in space. So there's probably not going to be as much of that kind of thing tonally. May I don't know. I would have maybe I'm making some assumptions, but yeah.
Do like a heist session with like a cool laser grid array defending a vault somewhere. Your Kamilarian character comes up, is like, no, fuck off, I'm out, bye.
Done. You could almost I'm sure that somehow you could do like a breakfast club version of Teens in Space.
Oh. You're in space. Well, we did, right? Were we not in space detention?
I guess it kind of was.
Yeah, we were in space cadet
Well, it was
detention.
space detention. We then had to go and do a bunch of tasks, but I think still you could. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, you could just go full on Breakfast Club, Space Breakfast Club.
You could just dig up all of those old 80s, like, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but you're all cephalons or something. There's a treasure trove of like 80s teen comedies that you could absolutely rip off.
Yeah. Easily.
Because they haven't made anything since then.
No, not a thing.
No, nothing.
No, nothing actually exists past that point in time. All right, the Asperians, a psionic race from the planet Espius. We love psions. Their existence remained shielded from the rest of the galaxy through the Asperians' considerable collective psychic abilities. However, when Skitchlings arrived to colonize the planet, the Asperians revealed themselves, brokering a deal with that species to get them to leave peacefully. I imagine the deal would have gone something like, hey, we're psychic as fuck, we'll break your brains if you don't get out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
Since then, Asperians have peacefully coexisted with the rest of the galaxy, mostly welcoming visitors and strongly favouring intergalactic treaties over war. They've managed to avoid any kind of direct physical conflict, a strong source of pride for their species. Within their own species, a strong source of identity is the art that Asperians create. Interactive, personalized experience that allow one Asperian to convey their lived experience to another through things similar to what humans would call dreams, but far more complex and open-ended. Few, if anyone, outside of their species are able to experience their art at all, and those who have tried have left unsettled by the strength of the emotional experience. Some Asperians who spend more time with other species have toyed with creating art for those they travel with, but with limited success, at least so far. Those who do travel the cosmos generally fall into two camps. Those who find themselves ultimately demoralized by the violence they encounter, and those who find themselves energized and even more committed to forging intergalactic peace. So that's... Was it that came out a couple of years back? One of those things that definitely doesn't exist, but it was based on... It was Brave New World. The Brave New World TV show that came out a little while back. Now, I haven't read the book, but from memory, I think it was Brave New World. One of the key things in that was the creation of that kind of emotional and mental kind of experience, and it was like the form of entertainment, which was pretty cool. Yeah, so I kind of dig that. I can kind of see folk going out into the world trying to experience fucked up shit so that they can then bring that back into the community as a thing to sell / create or whatever. They are quadrupedal. Sorry, yeah.
I was just about to comment on their appearance.
Do it.
So go.
No.
No.
You do the talk.
They're quadrupedal, pale and frail.
Mm.
Large bulbous heads that pulse as they use their psionic abilities. Careful observers may notice their augmentation gland moving under their skin from one region of their brain to another as they think hard about something.
That's hot.
Huh?
That's hot.
That's hot, yeah.
Yeah.
Check out my augmentation gland. What am I thinking about now, baby?
Just drawing dicks with my augmentation gland on top of my fucking head, on top of my bulbous head.
Sexy.
Stupid.
But yeah, an interesting concept though. Again, very non sort of human like, which is funky and cool.
Yeah, and there's the peaceful vibes. So the drawback for them, they're so not confrontational that all fight and physically based grit checks are made at -1. It's like me in real life. It's that I want nothing to do with conflict, please. No, that's not my jam. Thank you. And they get intergalactically beloved by default, which is nice. I like the idea in this game that you could play a character that's just automatically beloved by more or less anyone that you meet. It's like, oh, one of you! I fucking love the shit out of you guys. You're cool. God. Yeah.
It's one of those fucking pink fluffy clouds. Get in me.
Get all up in it. Get in me. No, too far. Not that far in. All right. You want to cover this
Frigorian.
one?
Yeah. After a tremendous cataclysm on their planet, they exterminated all but a handful of the human life. The few living scientists developed an extreme measure to preserve life, reanimating the corpses of their deceased planet Nice. Ooh. Now
Mm.
calling themselves Frigorians, they keep themselves alive through this scientific achievement called rejuvenation. The process is painful, but it beats the alternative. Having learned from the error of their ways, that led them to the cataclysm, and all aspects of Frigorian society, all citizens are considered equal. Frigorians are also welcoming of other species who wish to become Frigorians, though there are a series of tests that would-be Frigorians must go through to prove the purity of their intent, including a psychic investigation by Frigorian psionics. Such converts, as they're called, are rarely reanimated directly. Rather, they're used for body parts, needed to restore badly damaged Frigorians during the restoration process.
And I feel like there's like a pretty big divide between those two concepts. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, cool. I'd really like to become like Frankenstein's monster. And they're like, yeah, cool,
Yeah,
man. Just pass this fucking psychic test and we'll let you in the doors. It's like,
yeah,
it's a hella cool existence. You'll absolutely love it.
yeah,
You pass that, you
yeah,
go in, they fucking knock you out, and then that doesn't
yeah,
happen. Your leg just gets used for some other fucking dude.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's
Has anyone
it's
seen Frank? He went to become a Frigorian, but we never saw him. We never saw him again.
wait, is
But
that
what? Why?
I know those fucking toes. Is that Frank's fucking
Yeah,
toes,
yeah,
man?
yeah. Frank had a tattoo like that on his leg. What the fuck?
Remember that time he
So yeah,
tried to ship that shit on OnlyFans? Watch so much of.
yeah.
I think I'd like to
Uh,
play a Frigorian that is absolutely convinced that it should be pronounced Frigorian, though, just to
yeah, yeah,
shit
yeah,
some
yeah.
people. Um,
Oh my God, that would.
mm, Other than
So
hybrids,
yeah, so
Frigorians appear somewhere along the spectrum of a human, with a slightly more pallid skin tone, to stitched together humans with clearly different body parts, sometimes even from other species. Yeah, it's a Frankenstein monster situation, and I
it
fucking
is.
love it.
It is.
But they've got to, yeah, this is cool. So at least once a year, and same deal, right? So there's like little bits of stuff peppered through that gives you fun story stuff to play with. At least once a year, each Frigorian must undergo the rejuvenation process or become catatonic. If they do not receive the rejuvenation process within a month of becoming catatonic, they will permanently die. This annual process does not cost them any improvements. You can have heaps of fun with that.
Mm, mm.
Which is cool.
Strangely enough, they're not universally beloved, which is surprising.
Yeah, that is a bit weird. One of their suggested improvements, though, is gross. Is
Yeah, 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 yeah.
cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
All right,
Excellent.
take it away, sir.
I believe we had one of these in our last game,
We did.
the Herbaceans.
Won't talk about it too much, but yes, we did.
Uh, yeah. When colonists arrived on Herbexon, they initially thought it was simply a planet covered in a thick, lush rainforest, which they aimed to cultivate. Ooh. As they took Blade to the first tree, though, they discovered that most of the plants on the planet were actually sentient creatures. The Herbaceans, nearly indestructible when working collectively on the home planet, easily repelled the explorers who fled. But when Quilarians arrived seeking refuge from the Promethelians' relentless
Hey.
attacks, hey, sorry, there's no zero in there. The Herbaceans immediately took a liking to them, especially because they created more carbon dioxide
Hmm.
for the plant-based species to breathe. Collective by nature, Herbaceans clustered into self-selected groves of 4 to 7 partners, though some groves have been as large as 12, whose roots intertwine as they start, at the start, as that sentence is wrong.
Mm.
Roots intertwine as the start of the reproductive process. No, that's me. Once herbaceans join a grove, they are unlikely to ever separate, especially since remaining in a grove prolongs the herbaceans' lives exponentially. As members of the grove die, the other members of the grove reabsorbed their loved ones through a ritual of deep mourning that lasts approximately 1 year.
And is very fucking nutritionally satisfying.
It is. It is. What's for dinner, Dad? Um,
I actually really like that idea though. The idea of like combining like this intense year long like grief thing with just
hmm.
eating that son of a bitch. I
Yeah.
guess, or
There's
like,
there's
yeah,
well, there's kind of some June Fremen vibes kind of going on there,
true.
waste not, want not.
Yeah, absolutely. Take his water.
Um,
Can't fucking
so
wait. I
yeah,
cannot fucking wait for the June game. Oh my god, I cannot fucking wait for the June game. It's gonna be so fun.
we're just gonna. I wish it was coming out on PS5 at the same time as PC because I think it's. I don't think it is. I think it's coming out on PC first. I think
It will.
maybe
It
maybe
will
I'm
come out
confused.
at some point. I think they'll release it on PC to do all the sandbox testing or whatnot. But whatever. Fuck them.
Yeah,
The one thing that I am concerned about is that ultimately it's going to end up being visually boring over time because it will be a game that I binge in the same way that I did for Conan Exiles. And
yeah,
after a while, I'm just going to get sick of looking at the desert, and that's going to annoy me. Anyway, that's a
yeah,
whole other game.
yeah.
Uh,
It is a different game.
so these suckers can take the form of any plant, though they nearly universally get larger as they age. Adolescent herbaceans are roughly the size of humans, though they grow by about a foot each year unless they are willingly and quite painfully pruned. They do get regeneration being a plant, which is super cool.
Mm,
Um,
mm, mm.
but can't run away from shit or do. I think flight covers like a lot of your kind of athletic type checks in general in the game
Yeah,
system.
yeah.
Um,
It's not often you see plants running around, so
yeah, but like the whole awakened plant thing, and a lot of folk have a very Marvel kind of immediate concept of this thing. Absolutely,
yeah,
like not. I think where my mind lands, I go into stuff like you've got an entire community of these things that are also a really fucking good narcotic, and so they're just continually getting hunted down, like the Galapagos turtle thing. The
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
the turtles
yeah.
like continually never made it to England for study because they were so fucking delicious that the sailors would just eat the fuck out of the turtles before they made it back. So they'd send someone else
Yeah,
over to try and get some, like, that kind of thing. Um,
yeah.
or like playing with the mushroom idea of all of those interconnectivity things. I think that's pretty cool as well. Um,
You could, oh my God. So just thinking about this as again teens in space, you
mm,
could have like the Herbacean who is essentially the school stoner.
yep.
And and they actually just sell bits of themselves as the drugs.
Like,
It's like how many leaves do you want me to prune? Or
yeah,
yeah,
yep.
that could be actually that could be quite amusing
It's
and
like,
quite entertaining.
oh no, you don't have enough in the kneecap, man. You're just gonna have to take a little bit of my earwax. I'm like, shit.
There's just like a whole lot of mushrooms like growing down their back that they just kind of like pluck off and give to people.
Yeah.
Um,
It gets real sexy real quick. Um,
yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Which, mm.
uh,
uh,
One of the dudes at work today in our little chat was talking about a cactus or like a succulent. It's called like, I want to say fire poker or something. It's like clearly a plant that says, "Hey, keep the fuck away from me," right? It's like all red and yellow
yeah,
and
yeah,
shit. But apparently,
yeah,
like, so it has this sap that it's real, like it'll fuck you up. Like it can send you
yeah.
blind if you get it in your eyes. But it doesn't just
Oh God, okay.
leak this shit. If it gets
Yeah.
disturbed, it will actually like spit it, like it projects
Oh
the
shit.
sap. So it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna wear some gardening gloves and I'll be fine, because you go to move the thing and it's like attacking you in your actual face when you do it. Um, Shit like that is super fucking cool. They're
Yeah,
plants
yeah.
too. There's heaps of fun stuff to play with there.
There is. There is. Plants are evil. The next race is humans and they're boring, so should we just skip them?
Speaking of evil,
Uh,
I think
um,
most of us know what humans are.
yeah. Well,
All right.
yeah.
The
No.
Informians. These gelatinous denizens of Flublar Prime have spread around the cosmos, peacefully sharing planets with other species. They consume organic matter by absorbing it, then excreting a small pellet of concentrated fuel daily. A standard sized pellet sells for 100 credits and contains enough energy to power a 5-person spaceship for a day. Consequently, and because they're just generally really nice, Informians are usually welcome wherever they go. Usually. Some more cynical beings think their friendliness is just a defense mechanism, or worse, a ruse. These suspicious folk will point to the Informians' ability to consume literally any organic matter and wonder what their plans are for the known universe. Of course, they say Informians categorically deny these suspicions, but of course they would. No one has found any hard evidence of a vast Informian conspiracy. But of course, it wouldn't be a good vast conspiracy if they didn't cover their tracks so well. Beyond a small fringe, though, no one takes these rumours seriously.
I, that's just an amazing concept for a race. Like, it's just
I
like,
shit your fuel.
like what state of mind are you in when you come up with this? Like, have you been hanging out with the Herbaceans a whole bunch, and then you're just like, oh my god.
Wait, imagine though if
Let's
there was like fucking goop that shit fucking rocket fuel. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But they're also maybe there's conspiracy that they're actually going to take over the entire galaxy.
And like I don't know, it feels like there's a little bit of it's like that real world conspiracy theory slash actual situation where it's like giant oil conglomerates across the world
Yeah,
actually own everything and want to steal everyone to suck juices out of their brain that they can use to do more cool shit or whatever. Like those
yeah.
flavor of conspiracy theories are just kind of being wound in. It starts with this kind of silly, kind of cute, dumb little concept, and then it's like, but also there's possibly real fucking dark shit over here as well. I dig
Yeah.
that.
But see again, like with something like that, you could have like the Formian. He's like or they're like the child of the rich mega fuel company. The preppy kid who's actually like he's got the inside word. It's essentially like the space mafia, and the conspiracies are all true. Um, and he's just this really like obnoxious, terrible, fucking spoiled, rotten kid because he knows that at the end of the day, if anyone gives him shit, Daddy will just come along and absorb him and poop him out as fuel. So
Yeah, it's fucking he's rocket fuel in the fishes. See,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and like there's even stuff to play with that in their appearance, right? So, oh no, it's in their drawback. So if they're not fed, Informians will calcify, which after 9 days is fatal. So you can kind of run with that idea. It's like that's the approach. They just kind of starve them for a couple of weeks, and your mafia
Yeah.
boss just has like thousands of calcified fucking enemies
Yeah.
and people that have done them wrong.
It's all the statues in the long hallway
Yeah,
down
yeah,
to
yeah. It's like
like
Medusa
his
shit.
single desk. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah,
poor preppy kid has no fucking idea of this, and then it
yeah.
becomes immediately apparent. It's like, oh my god, my entire house is filled with corpses.
What even
Um,
happened to my uncle? He's over there. Oh my
mm,
god.
oh, he was
Um,
my favorite. Yeah, I'm gonna leave
it got
this
really.
one for you to pronounce as well.
It's the fuck you, thingy-matrons. The Laura. Just no. I tried the last hard one. You can do this, man. I
The
believe in you.
Loricatorians. Prior to encountering other species, Loricatorians lived happily on this small remote planet, tinkering with machines and cultivating their already prodigious knowledge. As they met with other species, all of whom were much bigger than them, they developed something of an inferiority complex. Though respected for their intellects and scientific achievements, the Loricatorians felt looked down upon, both literally and figuratively. To compensate, when traveling off Loricatori, they don mechanical suits, functionally identical to androids, that they control from safely within the suit. These suits take the form of whatever species that specific Loricatorian admires for their physical stature. Loricatorians tend to be quite matter of fact and generally view art as a waste of time. This is not to say they do not make aesthetic considerations. Mates often select their partners based on the length and elegance of their fingers. It's a weird fucking example. Their mechanical creations, though almost completely utilitarian, are often remarkably refined. However, it is exceptionally rare to find Lorewrights who call themselves artists. What do they look
It
like?
actually does. It does expand on the fingers there.
Does it?
Their fingers are longer than you'd expect for their other proportions. And the evolutionary development as mates select each other for their skill at working with machines.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, sure. That's what
there's
it's
a
for.
whole
Uh
there's actually I was actually thinking more there's like a whole ghost scene where someone's like fixing the generator for the spaceship or something, and
huh.
Emily Brothers are playing on the background as the fingers are all, yep.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
Nice.
honey, can you pass me the crescent, baby?
I'm gonna need that wrench.
Yeah, yeah.
Get me the
Give me all your nuts.
sprocket zing, which is
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't know anything about tools, so I've run out of
it's
names of
it's space tools. You just
it's space tools.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
absolutely
true.
space tools. The neurocombactulator. See,
Yep, yep.
like go on, make up a space tool.
Cool. The electro compressor drill.
Yeah, perfect.
It's not very erotic.
It doesn't need to be. I dig the
Well, I mean,
idea of small dudes in a mech suit. And
yeah.
I'm kind of inclined for the weekend game to go with one of these guys. I think. Like it says they replicate whatever species they admire. I think I'd probably just ignore that and say it's just like this big chunky fucking mech type thing, and then just this tiny little guy on the inside.
It's remarkably long fingers.
With incredibly long fingers. Yeah, I'd forgotten about the long fingers thing when I made that decision.
Yeah.
But I think I can have some fun with that, you know?
Just shh.
Shh, but just keeps going. Like covers your entire fucking face.
Yeah. God, that's gonna be
Oh
awkward.
no. All right, come on, you got this.
Amazing.
This should be relatively
The Mystarians.
pronounceable.
In the universe, many species believe in a mystical force that holds the universe together. As species interacted, they came to call this force the Bind, and those who access it can use it to do amazing things. There are currently no mechanical implications of the Bind for players. It is meant only as a narrative element.
Which means it's made up. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
It's bullshit. Mystarians are said to be born of the Bind, possessing a connection to it unlike any other. Mystarians live in flocks on hidden shrines built into asteroid belts, nearly impossible to find. Most remain in their shrines and do not seek contact with outside worlds. Their healing abilities are highly sought after. Mystarian culture is one of peace. They live long enough and seek enlightenment, or they live long lives. Many Mystarians are extremely independent and not interested in finding a mate for life. And these are also flightless avian humanoids.
Yeah, which it's like
muscular body.
It's one thing to have like a flightless avian species in a game setting. Fucking what? Two of those things? That's cool. I dig it. Sorry, you were
and these are kind of
describing
like
them. Yeah, go.
Buff one.
The buff
Yeah,
one?
muscular bodies, dark skin, covered in feathers of red and blue, large round eyes, solid black. Their hollow bones make them deceptively light. Very tall, 6 to 7 feet.
What does deceptively light mean? How do those two words work together, though?
It's like suspiciously hairless.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Well, I guess if you see someone who's 7 foot tall, you would expect them to be pretty, pretty heavy. But due to the lack of density of the bones of these guys, maybe they're just not.
I feel like, yeah, they're not. It's like they've got hollow bones, but the rest of the meat is just fucking thick. Is the way that I would read deceptively light.
It is that, but how does that work? Like how Jesus Christ, Emily.
Oh
Uh,
God.
um, it's dedication to the cause. Bless your cotton socks, Sam. Um, yeah, I guess from from an actual sort
Oh.
of physiology point of view, can you have a 7 foot creature that's got super hollow bones but is incredibly muscular and dense? Like, what's the implications of that? Are there any? I don't know.
Look, maybe we'll find out on the weekend. Who knows?
Very well.
What are the implications of that insanity?
Might
Um,
get you a
all right.
crossbird.
The Neozo. While there is an intergalactic ban on experimenting on creatures below a certain intellect, some ne'er-do-wells ignore this ban, especially when they think these creations can make them money in the weapons trade. Some of these experiments have resulted in giving such animals human-like qualities, often enhanced to human levels. These Neozos rarely want to stay with their creator and often find themselves wandering the stars in search of others like them, the few who understand the pain of their creation. Because of the illegality of their creation, Neozos are typically created to fill illegal, dangerous, and violent roles. Some relish these roles, feeling that unlike many species who slowly evolved haphazardly to fit into an environment, Neozo were created deliberately and carefully to fulfill a role. Others wish to buck their creator's intentions and find their own way, going in the precise opposite direction. Others still find their own career path, feeling that taking either of these polar directions removes their agency, which Neozo tend to value above all else. So these are
So
your
essentially, this is Rocket Raccoon.
well, yeah, right, and so that's it's probably the second potentially kind of Marvel-esque vibe that you can take for it from it. But I remember the first time I read this, I was thinking like half robot bear. Like Cyborg Bear was the first thing I thought. What is happening there? Gigs Pro is that, but not is a
It's a new
gallery
set.
fucking set of images that I would fully get behind. Yeah,
Yeah, look, there's you could do all sorts of like absolutely just crazy stuff uh with this. You could lean into sort of the Marvel-esque things, but as you said, there's certainly other options.
yeah. You have
Um,
like one crazed inventor that wants to make a third cooler flightless bird race in the universe, for
yeah.
example. It's heaps of fun.
Is this the opportunity that I make basically an intergalactic experiment upon pig and call it ham?
Yeah, yes, yes. Oh my god, yes. You could absolutely do that. Make your life as easy as possible. Hey, Ham. Oh yeah, that's me. That's my actual
Yeah,
name.
yeah,
So
excellent.
easy. Done.
Never gonna forget that one.
Yeah, 100%. I was
Yeah.
kind of hoping that you were going to say that you wanted to create like a third species of flightless bird with exceedingly long fingers. Um, Best of both
I
worlds.
mean, yeah, well, look, who said that a genetically modified pig can't have also very long fingers?
They call me Cyber Pig.
I'm a pig.
All right, next
Hawkins.
up, please, sir, if you don't mind.
The Pantheros. When the universe began, the Pantheros were there. As the universe expanded, so did the Pantheros. They watched and guided civilizations beginning being worshipped as deities by those they helped. Eventually, these civilizations were lost to time, and the gods they worshipped were left to wander the cosmos looking for new homes. Some planets were less than hospitable to the ancient ones, and through torture and experimentation, discovered the incredible energy the species is capable of generating. Harnessing this energy unlocked the secrets of interdimensional travel, and the Pantheros became an energy source for ships to cross great distances in an instant. The Pantheros survive by living a life on the run, protecting their young from the forces that hunt them. Young Pantheros are not allowed contact outside their species, but are told grand stories of the time when their kind were worshipped and all powerful.
So this is a really cool take on the celestial idea. Like I love the idea
Mm.
that the other inhabitants of the universe have gone, oh yeah, like at one point, yeah, we'll worship you as gods, and then going, oh actually, we can fucking use that shit and
Yeah.
and use them as a fucking commodity. That's It's a very cool thing. I dig the idea of that.
Yeah.
Appearance-wise, as varied as the planets they inhabit, as each ancient being took on many of the characteristics of their home worlds, the eldest Panthoros share one characteristic that makes them the easiest prey. They're each over 20 feet tall. They're the tall boys, and tall boys and ladies. As Panthoros ages, they increase in size until they are taller than most structures. Young Panthoros of 50 to 300 years resemble their immediate parentage in terms of appearance, but are 7 feet tall on average. Few know of the existence of young Panthoros, so they're usually mistaken for another similar-looking species if they're ever seen by the public. One of the fun things this system has in kind of your first couple of sessions is figuring out your ship. And one of the very specific things that you figure out about the ship is how it travels faster than light, right? Maybe it's just some really big guy. That's how.
Yeah.
Just
He's just hooked up. They're just constantly feeding him all day.
Yeah, just got a really big guy in the boot. That's how we get around. Just every now and again, we just juice him down.
Yeah. Oh,
and then we go scooting across the galaxy. But it specifically says interdimensional travel, so that's super cool. Playing one of these characters is kind of appealing too. I feel like you'd want maybe the entire party or most of the party to be kind of like the young Panthoros. I think would be a cool little, gimmick to run with.
Yeah.
The drawback being, upon being recognized as a Panthoros, the character will become an immediate target for those who will try to use their energy to power a ship. They will be aggressively pursued. Absolutely. Good for the old I'm going to betray the party trick too. It's like, I'm going to betray that one fucking guy. It's like, he's so fucked. The Pro-Aliens.
All right, I am going to have to jump in and say I'm probably going to have to hit the eject button here because I'm fucking old and terrible.
That's absolutely fine. It's been a pleasure looking through these with you.
Yeah.
So have you decided on what it is that you'll be playing over the course of the weekend? Any of these that we've gone through so far?
It's given me these multiple ideas now.
Clock's ticking, buddy. There's only a handful of days.
Yeah, I know. Part of me's just tempted to play the Goat Boy, the intergalactic fucking fuel pooper.
Yeah. Here you go.
But the other one was which was the Calcians, just playing like a Calcian who is he's like the kid who hangs out in the music room all day playing the electric guitar. Perfecting the ancient music of the Zeros. I think I'm heading more in that direction more than anything else, I think.
Yeah. Just like rolling out pre-recorded like 40s tracks every now and again. Like, listen to this, it was amazing. Or whatever. Maybe that music was really fucking shit, and it is literally just like bullshit, like industrial experimentation sounds and shit.
It could be. Could be. There's a lot of cool things. It's, man, you guys just don't get it. You just don't get it like I do, man.
Yeah. It's incredible.
But also cannot rule out the idea of just doing that genetically modified pig boy. So like that's
3 whole options. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
It has been a delight speaking with you. We will do that again, but it will probably be on a different topic. I imagine something sort of Skulls related and or just general kind of,
chittery,
cool dudes hanging out type shit.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. What about you? Are you pretty locked in with your whole what was it? The little dude in the giant fucking mech,
My,
or
my little mech guy.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm heavily leaning in that direction at this stage. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Mm,
I did. I did send a message to Alan, just sort of saying, "Hey, is there anything that you haven't had a chance to that a player hasn't thrown at you before that you're kind of keen to see in a game?" Because I
mm.
think if I was competent enough to run Teens in Space with a bunch of hectic fuckwits, um, I think I feel like folk would choose a lot of the same stuff a lot of the time. And so I was just
Yeah,
curious to see if there's something that, like running the game that maybe it always wanted to be. But no, I'm pretty sure at this stage that I'll run with my dumb mech guy.
yeah. Cool, nice, excellent. Well, we'll get to find. Do we need to make? Are we using the same character or two different characters? That's the other thing.
What? Are we using the same
'Cause this-
character? Like, are we a
No, no,
symbiotic?
no, 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 no. As in, like, because we've
Oh,
got
for the
two sessions.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because we've got two sessions. Is it that might be a question to ask?
It's probably a good idea to have two, just in case we need a backup one if we do something terribly foolish as well.
Yeah,
I guess.
that's very true.
Yeah.
That's
Or
very, very, very true.
like if it's just us two playing the two back to back games, like we become the OG crew for the second game,
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
like bossing everyone
Mm,
else
mm,
around who comes in on that
yeah.
second game. I don't know how it
Yeah.
works. I don't think we have this information yet, but it doesn't matter. It's
No,
going to be fun.
no, it is. It'll be great. It'll be awesome. Dude, thank you for inviting me
Ta-da!
along. It's been fun.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for coming along. See you next time, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
have
right.
fun
I'm
night.
gonna punch out. You're still lurking here by yourself? Am I gonna
Yeah,
break your Zoom if
um,
I
you, I'll deal with it. It's fine.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
I'm a
Right.
big boy. I
Nice.
can manage these things.
You certainly are a big boy. All right, I'm gonna catch you later, man. Oh no, what's that doing? Oh, buttons. Whoa. God.
Is he capable of leaving? Oh god, there's two of me. Incredible. All right, let me get rid of one of me. Surely it's that one. Ta-da! All right, and we also don't require his name. I'll just be a floating disembodied head for a bit. Woo! Maybe I pop this down here then, because again, the whole why are we looking over Teens in Space thing is in aid of selecting a character for Ellen's Starweaver fundraising set of games over the weekend, which is going to be fun as heck. And you can see a whole bunch of really fucking cool people listed there. Like, I feel a little bit hurt, for example, that Emily is like directly above my head. I feel like that's a little bit on purpose. But GFD is there, MVCDM is there, fucking Zach Speaks Giant is there, which is super cool. Hamish is there, obviously. Sean Sunday, Brainbeast Studios is there. It's actually really difficult for me to see on that screen. Is that fucking Dag, I believe, is coming in as well. Lou Boffin is coming in as well. Fucking Zeet Poltergeist is coming in as well. Clam, fucking X Clementine. There's like a whole bunch of really cool people. It's going to be heaps of fun. So, again, check out the following channel. We'll do a little shout out. Follow the heck out of that. I assume there will be fundraising opportunities. There is a link that you can kind of donate directly, and so it's in aid of getting a theatre project that Ellen wants to run off the ground, and it sounds fucking sick. The link will be shared, I'm sure, a bunch of times over the weekend, but the premise and the spiel for it is just, it's pretty fucking cool. All right, we're going to run through the rest of these species. So the Proalians, hailing from the war-ravaged planet of Proeliacs. The Proalians were on the verge of extinction from their constant wars when they discovered they were not alone in the universe. This was a good thing for their species, but much less so for the rest of the galaxy. They immediately established a tense yet enduring peace between members of their species and set out to dominate the rest of the cosmos. Because they understand themselves to be a threat to all other species, they see other species as a threat to them. Proelians are unlikely to be part of an intergalactic or interspecies alliances. Yeah, weird sentence. Unless there's a greater threat that they need to fight back. However, in the distant future, when Proelians have interacted with other species and found their ways of peace somewhat appealing, it's certainly possible that more progressive Proelians have pushed their species to become part of an intergalactic treaty. It is also certainly possible that there is current tension among the species, with different factions wanting wildly different things from the universe, from peaceful accord to total submission. Because of their history, many species have an immediate distrust of Proelians, even if they have tried to change their ways. Again, anyone making cool games wants to throw me some stuff to proofread. I'm into that. So they are humanoid in appearance. They're obviously like the warmongers, I guess, of the Teens in Space universe. Humanoid in basic shape, so they have 7 eyes forming a ring around their head, making them incredibly perceptive and incredibly difficult to surprise in combat. The weird thing I think about these, I think it'd be fun to try and find a cool way to play them, because the bonuses that they get, like, it focuses in on that warfare stuff, but having a ring of 7 fucking eyes, I think, is a cool little thing, I guess, and it'd be fun to play with ideas on how to, mess around with that. Their drawback is that they find it difficult to be insulted without resorting to physical violence. And they have to succeed on a difficulty 6 grit check to avoid physically attacking someone who insults them. Okay, yeah. So there's a bit of a Doctor Who kind of vibe to these folk, a little bit. They're also going to be, I guess, if you've got like that kind of, edgelord, gritty, wildcard kind of player, this is going to appeal to them quite a lot. But again, like, taking that concept and then trying to play it a different way can be super fun in itself. Nothing wrong with being a disembodied head. That is absolutely true. I agree. I do like this as a world building thing in general that I might steal. They take the last name of the most fearsome enemy that they killed in battle, which is cool. I dig that a lot. The Pugnarian. Secretive and tricksy by nature. Little is known about Pugnarian history, even by most Pugnarians. They are, both physically and socially, endlessly adaptable. As their society currently stands, they are a technologically advanced species, though non-Pugnarians aptly make the case that all of this technology is a replica of other known species' technologies. They are slow to trust and slower to form lasting attachments, and their ability to change shape at will makes them more likely to impersonate a loved one than to become a loved one. Because of this, Pugnarians tend to gravitate toward fields where they can spy on others without arousing suspicion. Younger Pugnarians will often take jobs in the service sectors, where they can start to accumulate knowledge. As they age, they'll sometimes shift into professions that are overtly espionage-related, and they'll often play both sides to get as much information as possible. Other Pugnarians, though, find this endless pursuit of miscellaneous information pointless. They are more interested in cultivating an understanding of Pugnarian history, which they strive to do by finding primary documents from their past and decoding what they believe to be a complex system of meaning within the half-truths and outright lies that reveals the true history of their species. In appearance, bit of similarity, but also not. With our gelatinous parasite buddies. Their base form is a blob of fleshy goop. Around the age of 2, they start to take other shapes, usually taking a form somewhere between their 2 parents' most common forms. This form is what they usually consider their real appearance, and will revert to this form if forced to do so by tremendous injury, coercion, or the like. So again, it's the shapeshifter thing, right? So fun character if you want to go about the idea of kind of sowing distrust, or just for a fucking laugh. Like, if mimicry, is a thing that you want to play with, that can always be fun. The drawback is the way that it's kind of presented here in game, and it's, again, the system itself lends to just ignoring the shit out of this. Like, you can talk to who's running your game, and you can 100% probably expect them to go, yeah, that's a heaps cooler idea for that thing, we're going to run with that. But the drawback that's presented here is that they're universally distrusted. It's kind of the direct opposite to the universally beloved, right? When they attempt a charm check against someone who knows the character is a Pugnarian, that charm check is at a -3 penalty. Which, like, if you're a shapeshifter who can be anyone, it's, going to increase paranoia, I guess. That's kind of fair. This is the second mention of the bind through the different species. And I'm pretty sure this was the species that Hamish used in the game that we played that he was referring to, I think. Refugees from their homeworld, Quilarians are brilliant bioorganic engineers who use the bind, a mystic force seeming to link the universe together, to reconstruct the genetic code of living creatures. They use their abilities to heal dying ecosystems and create organic constructs, some capable of space travel. When Prolarians discovered their homeworld, they forced them to construct organic weapons of mass destruction. The Quilarians sacrificed themselves to prevent the Prolians even, from possessing such devastating power. Knowing their time was up, they sent a single organic starship with a small population to rebuild their species elsewhere. For years, the ship drifted through space until it landed on Herbexan, immediately bonding with its ecosystem. Their ship was transformed into their new citadel, and a new Quilarian civilization was formed. Their culture is rooted in pacifism, and they share a connection with the bind. See them Starians on page 90 for more on the bind. There's not a lot more there, but, do that. Which they refer to as the One Heart. When healing or repairing another living organism, they appear as if they are hugging it. Their healing hugs give them the nickname Fuzzy Hug Monsters. This is absolutely the species that Hamish played in the Teens in Space game that we played. So they're a tiny, bipedal, hedgehog-like species with an average lifespan of around 200 years, reaching adulthood around 20, standing between 6 and 12 inches tall. They are very small little guys, dress in simply woven natural fibers and have round, hopeful eyes. They're furry, ranging in colour from light tans and greys to dark browns and reds with long quills. They can tuck themselves into tight, spiky balls as a natural defense. Culturally gender fluid, Quilarians demonstrate individuality by styling their quills in unique ways and colors. They are warm and inviting, optimistic almost to a fault. They heal you by hugging you. It's adorable if it's adorable. If it's not adorable, it's a little bit fucking creepy. That's all I'm saying. Hamish did not make it creepy because he's an adorable guy. So it was adorable. The Raskog is up next. So, a silent, ancient species communicating only through touch. The Raskog have a conscious state of 5 months before falling into a deep slumber for 10 years. They have a lifespan of centuries, but their bodies freeze in place when their biological clock ticks to noon in the 4th month of their calendar year. The Raskog are carnivores, spending their immediate waking moments feeding on nearby animal life. There have been no recorded accounts of cannibalism thus far. Once the ravenous instincts have left them, they communicate with one another and return to their activities from before the slumber. Given that the Raskog has fed and has prepared for their decade-long slumber properly, they're intelligent and cunning. Their written language is complex, and their city centers stagger miles above ground, made from an unbreakable, transparent material. So when sleeping, the Raskog stand tall in mid-action. Flowers and vines curl and grow around their bodies. Their skin reflects against the light of the day and melts into the darkness of night, mirroring the movements of the sky. Mildew, cobwebs, and moss burgeon freely over their stillness. At the end of the decade, the Raskog break free from their tomb of nature, revealing the glass hull underneath. They move fast, devouring whatever flesh is closest to them. So there's like a big kind of vampire mummy vibe to these guys. It's kind of vampire is the vibe, but it's like a flesh eating vampire, I guess, kind of deal. The hive mind thing is pretty cool. Hive minds are always cool. It doesn't matter how it's applied or what it applies to. The drawback is Raskog are a myth to most other species across the galaxies, a horror story that parents tell their children to scare them at night. It's like a horror Snow White situation. Due to their inability to communicate emotion through speech, and they're silent, which just makes them even more terrifying, right? Due to their inability to communicate emotion through speech and their facial expressions are restricted to being featureless, they have a D4 for charm, so it's a low charm score. If the trope already gives them a D4 in charm, they're considered to always roll a 1 for their charm checks, although spending AT may increase this value. So if you continue playing with the character, you can kind of tweak them as with most other systems. Hibernating, creepy, silent Snow White vampire zombies is the vibe of these things, which is pretty fucking cool, I guess. And they also have only one name. It's just like sure. They use touch or writing to communicate their names, which is pretty cool. I feel like it would be a difficult character to play for an extended period of time, I think. I think in a one shot you could probably get away with it, but like there's only a few kind of tropes you can lean on for that, especially without the ability to speak, and I think that will get real old real quick. But other people are better at playing games than I am, so maybe someone's had a crack at them and properly enjoyed it and did some cool stuff. Next up, we have the old fucking lizard folk, basically. We have the Reptilnae, natives of Uruvula. Sure. A planet full of rich jungles and humid climates. Reptilnae have their cities from brambles and roots to the tops of the trees. To outsiders, these cities can be easily passed by as they blend into the natural environment. Like their hometowns, the Reptilnae can also blend and camouflage into the surroundings around them, making it easier for them to sneak around their unknown cities. The Reptilnae who would venture out tend to get hired on pretty quickly as either scouts, explorers, and spies, or they can tend to roam the worlds on their own, stealing their way onto the next ship. Reptilnae are welcomed cautiously into the cities, but are always given a wary eye until their intentions are shown. Well, it's because they've been written up as so sneaky and untrustworthy, I assume. Standing on hind legs, Reptilnae stand about 3 to 5 feet tall, so they're not super tall. With their 2 fingers, just the 2, ever-changing skin, and eyes on conical turrets that can rotate 360 degrees, almost exactly like a 3 to 5 foot tall version of Earth's chameleons. Their tails, which they rarely fully extend, are about 3 feet long and completely prehensile. They walk mainly on their hind legs for social purposes, but will go down to all fours to move more quickly and easily. Their limbs are long and thin, and they have long tongues if they ever dare to unravel it in mixed company. So, like, fully chameleons is what these are. It's a little bit like Wood Elf / chameleon is the vibe that I got. But they do have regeneration and like an advanced form of regeneration, which is pretty cool. Super fun, we dig that. And the Skitchlings, probably one of the coolest words that I've ever seen. So there's, I don't know what it is. There's certain words that kind of stick in my head and go, that's a cool fucking word. I love that. Let's check these little fuckers out. So, and I feel like these are described almost exactly as the word for them sounds, which is another thing that just makes me happy on the inside a little bit. Being mouthless, the Skitchlings are seen by some as tools for murder, theft, and other malicious tasks. Some embrace this, taking on jobs as assassins. Their ability to contort their bodies to fit in tight spaces or to horrify onlookers comes at the cost of breaking their own bones. Through practice, they can learn to heal quickly from these self-inflicted wounds. Some Skitchlings are known to break their bones through their skin, using them as weapons in hand-to-hand combat. Others stalk their prey from a distance, contorting themselves in horrifying ways to unnerve their enemies. Many Skitchlings fight against this stereotype, wanting to be better heard and understood. They are fluent in sign language and they have the technology to translate sign language into words. A speaker is attached to the wrist with straps wrapping around each finger to feel the movements of their hands. Perhaps the most effective way of being understood is through dance, or dance if you prefer. Skitchlings are some of the most beautiful dancers in the galaxy. I mean, ew! That's like, yeah, it's a little bit gross. Sure. It's like, oh crap, I don't have a weapon. I need a dagger. Hang on a sec. Let me just break my fucking tibia or whatever. Yeah, take collarbone in the face. But I like the idea that for some reason that makes them really good dancers as well. I dig it. They have smooth grey skin, and many shave all hairs from their body regularly to preserve their precise motions. They are naturally tall and spindly, though they can change their stature as they see fit, breaking their bones to find their own forms as they age. That's another really fucking cool thing. The idea that you can construct your own form by breaking your bones. Yeah, that's super cool. They have 4 limbs, all of which end with hands, allowing them to quickly and efficiently move on all fours if desired. Their finger strength and dexterity is high if they work at it, allowing them to skitter quietly on their fingertips. Their heads are abnormally small, leading to some slur about their supposed lack of intelligence due to this. Their eyes reside roughly where most creatures' cheeks would be, providing them with strong peripheral vision. Their nostrils are 2 slits along the side of their necks, and their ears are 4 holes, 2 on each side of their head. So, courtesy? Question mark of all of that. They get a +3 bonus to all attempts to move stealthily, and they can contort to reach otherwise difficult locations, or use it to cause fear. Which for me, like if you like min-maxing a character for this particular system, I feel like you want to go with the fucking Skitchlings here. Because that's 3 pretty fucking useful bonuses to have in game. Just for being you, just for being a bony guy, you know. The drawback is so -1 to fight while bones are healing from self-inflicted or contortionist wounds. Which is, it's not a terrible balancing factor to that. I think like of all of the, I don't know, it's now between the little mech guy and I think one of these little bastards now. -1 to fight while bones are healing from self-inflicted contortionist wounds. -3 to checks that involve team-based activities such as a coordinated attack. That second drawback doesn't necessarily make sense for me. I think they do need a second one. But I kind of feel like it should reflect Saz's reaction and be more in line with that kind of like the opposite of the beloved thing. So, you know, you kind of gross most people out with your existence. But other than that, I think as a species, they're incredible. I love the Skitchling, and it is, I think, on my list for a backup character / second character if we actually need 2 characters for the weekend's course of games. I haven't actually done the maths yet, but I feel like it's going to be, I think it's like a full 8 hours of game time on the Saturday of Teens in Space. So, woo, it's going to be fucking sick. I'm going to need some energy drinks. I'm going to need a good fucking sleep on the Saturday night. Got the other game on the Sunday, and then I've taken the Monday off so that I can recover from all of that without being stressed about it over the course of the weekend. All right, the Solemnians, a proud, intelligent race from the depths of space. Solemnians have been exploring the galaxy for longer than most other species. Their culture values reason over emotion, so across the galaxy they have come to be nicknamed the Serious Ones, a phrase used both affectionately and derisively. They embrace this epitaph, considering it epitaph or epithet? You know that thing where you read a bunch of books when you were a kid, so you're not necessarily entirely sure how they're pronounced, but you're super familiar with the word? That's one of those for me. In my brain, it's always been epitaph, but I suspect it might actually be epithet, considering it a badge of honor for their efforts to become more logical. Indeed, most Solemnians undergo neural alterations that increase their intelligence by deadening their emotions. Wonder what inspired these guys. Because of their analytic, aloof natures, they often take great interest in highly emotional species, which they believe to be every species other than themselves. To find out more about them, they'll often travel with others and take copious notes. A Solemnian's journal is often, when read by another species, a strange thing to behold, filled with speculations and explanations of a logical order to emotional responses when there may not be one. A small subset of Solemnians find that their fascination with understanding emotions leads to their desire to experience them for themselves. Such Solemnians often seek out experience in an attempt to experience their art firsthand. Such experiences usually leave Solemnians with more questions than answers, a state of affairs in which they often find great joy. So yeah, obviously, huge fucking like Vulcan vibes from these guys. Generally humanoid in appearance, their skin is slightly bluer, and their features generally more gaunt. They have keen grey eyes and 3 long fingers and a thumb on each hand. They are calm in demeanour and generally elegantly dressed, though in social interactions, most species consider them aloof. So they got the smarts, but yeah, okay, so they lose a bit of charm as a result of that, which I guess makes sense. I feel like if you're gonna lean into that, I feel like they probably should put like more obvious, like Star Trek flavored kind of Easter eggs through. Like you could have properly leaned into it. Is my feeling. But it does mean that, you know, if when you think of, you know, oh cool, I'm gonna play a character in the spaceship. If, you know, Star Trek is your baseline, that gives you an option, a little goofy physically, a little different, but it gives you that kind of, you know, baseline of personality to play with, which, you know, makes sense. Squillions. Oh, oh, this is the sad one. Squillions. Delicious, according to horrific historic record. The Squillions are a sentient species of creatures that were created, bred, harvested, and consumed as a delicacy for a much larger and decadent species only known to them as the Maw. The Maw's consumptive lifestyles eventually led to their own extinction, having devoured the majority of the resources on their home planet of Alcyon. This left their food, the Squillions, the space to learn, thrive, and grow. Ever weary? Pretty sure that should be wary. Ever wary of becoming a culinary delight for other life forms, they have only now, generations later, started reaching out into the black. While they are saddled with instincts implanted in them by their creators that make them fearful of others, their molts are extremely palatable and are often presented as rare, edible gifts to those they trust the most. So, this is a species that you want to talk with the other players at the table and GGM about, because it's got a whole bunch of fucking wrong shit about it. But again, I was talking about the Galapagos turtles or tortoises before. Same kind of deal. Some stuff's just delicious, and other stuff is going to take advantage of that. And in this case, this species was created as food. Creating a sentient food is properly fucked up, though. And if I feel like a fun, like if you're going to play like a dark fucking run of Teens in Space, having like the return of the Maw and a bunch of Squillian characters would be super fun thing, or even like NPCs, and they're absolutely terrified at the potential return of this, insidious fucking entity, which may not just stop with the Squillians. They want to consume, and they'll consume everything. So they look like a 5 foot tall bipedal shrimp. You also may be familiar with a particular character from one of the more recent Star Trek. There's a lot of Star Trek shit. One of the more recent Star Trek series of not a dissimilar fucking nature, to be honest. So they look like 5 foot tall bipedal shrimp. Their exoskeleton is clear with the exception of 2 bright lines that trail vertically from their eye stalks down their backs and fan out at the tail. The color of these stripes change depending on whatever emotion they felt the strongest before their last molt, and will remain that color until their next. They molt every 3 months, and for 1 week after the molt, their flesh is extremely soft and vulnerable. I'm actually curious to see if Star Trek Discovery was written before or after this particular teens in space species, because the similarities between the two are so specific, and I feel like it's a fairly recent species in the Star Trek universe. I could be entirely wrong. They might have been referred to in the past. I'm not sure. I've been rewatching Voyager. I sure as shit don't recall them. And I can't remember what the species is called, but I don't recall them coming up there. But because they were bred to instinctively freeze up when in the presence of larger creatures, they believe mean them harm. Before making a flight check to flee such a creature, they've got to make a successful grit check in order to actually flee. So there's like like, I don't know, what's the bonus there? You get +1 charm? Okay. Oh no, I feel like this particular species needs a better balance than just being fucking delicious. But at the same time, if you're playing a stupid game, you can totally lean into that and run with it and do all kinds of wacky and potentially properly fucked up shit. But a very good example of, even unknowingly, absolutely needing safety tools before any game that you go into, because that's the kind of thing that could bring up a whole bunch of fucking weird shit for people. Some of which you might not have even known was there. All right, the Therinians are up next. Hailing from the planet of Therina, these large quadrupeds live in tribes of 10 to 15. Therinians are nomadic by nature, and though they are intelligent, they usually have little interest in technology or exploring the universe beyond Therinia. Each tribe has a region of the planet that they inhabit and use for hunting. They regularly visit each other, especially during seasonal festivals, where tribes are reorganized to ensure genetic diversity, which is a good idea if you're living in tribes of fucking 10 to 15. Tribes live in peace with each other for 2 main reasons. First, tribal boundaries are fluid given the frequent festivals. Second, and more importantly, all Therians understand the importance of keeping populations under control given their dependence on the land. This leans toward the little bit not right, to be honest. Tribes only reproduce when a member of the tribe dies, or in the rare event that a Therinian decides to leave the planet to pursue science or explore the wider galaxy. It is under these rare circumstances that they allow long-term visitors to the planet, only if they can temporarily take the place of traveling Therinian. Yeah, okay. Look, anytime any kind of population control is mentioned in reference to a thing, like, my radar immediately just goes, ah! It's very rarely a good thing to play with the idea of. At the same time, I haven't sat down and tried to pull it apart and come up with a way to use it in a way that isn't fucking shit. But it's a bad idea for obvious and not obvious reasons. Appearance-wise, they look similar to bears and range in size from the size of a grizzly bear to a medium-sized dog. A dog-sized fucking bear would be fun to play with. Their long, shaggy fur varies from dark to light brown, which turns to grey as they age. Though peaceful, they're omnivorous and thus have sharp teeth. When they rear up on their hind legs, they can be quite frightening. I feel like maybe one of the intentions of this was to be kind of like maybe a sloth type creature thrown in there, but I don't know. For me, it's just got some unfortunately written kind of stuff in there, and nothing else about it stands out enough to kind of balance that, if that makes sense. It's there's genetic fucking manipulation of entire other species in here elsewhere that doesn't just give me the ick as much as that one does. The Throgafel, the short, quick-tempered craftspeople, are widely considered the best machinists and technologists in the universe. With that sentence, and I've forgotten the rest of what these folk actually are. I'm going to say they're either gnome or like dwarf coded, these guys. Obsessed with creating machines and expanding their knowledge of science, the Throgafel quickly spread off of their planet into the surrounding systems, colonizing uninhabited planets and terraforming them. They also seek barren planets to mine and have developed techniques to keep from affecting those planets' orbits as their automatons mine them. Most Throgafel are reluctant to forge items for other species, charging them exorbitant rates for the privilege. Some think that this stems from their concern that others will reverse engineer their technology and sell it for themselves, but none have ever successfully done so, though many have tried. Others think Throgafel are just generally adverse to outsiders. So yeah, super dwarf, space dwarfs is what I feel like the aim is here. Throgafels are short, usually stout humanoids with ruddy complexions. Their hands, though, are long-fingered and nimble, necessary for the work that they do. Some Throgafel extend their love of technology to their own bodies, augmenting themselves until they are more technology than Throgafel, and making no effort to hide the augmentations, as most species do. Though not all Throgafel thus augment themselves, it is rare to find one older than 5 without a cybernetic augmentation. I was mentioning before about how some of the stuff through the various descriptions of species gives you little cool little things that you can use in a story. Dwarf Vader, right? That's serving that to you on a silver platter, right fucking there. And I feel like you'd run it exactly as you would imagine it in a Spaceballs way. It's like that there is your big bad Spaceballs bad guy. So their drawback, so the Throgafel insist on tinkering with technology they encounter, especially what they don't understand. So each day they're in the presence of such tech, they've got to take a check to avoid tinkering with it. The suggested starting difficulty is 6 to 9. Nice. Depending on how novel the technology is. Each day, repeat the check cumulatively, increasing the check, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so they've got like an urge to tinker, which is... I like the idea of that, but I think more as like a character class, or in this case, like crew role, rather than to an actual species, I think would where I'd land that. What? Oh yeah. This is right. I'd forgotten about these. This is fun. All right. So the Viscosians. So, secret note: Viscosians are non-player characters added to a player character with the GM's permission. Until the Viscosian and its host are fully bonded, the GM has control of the Viscosian, sharing information with the player as needed. The more developed the bond, the more control the GM should give over to the player. A symbiote race that lies dormant until coming in contact with another species. Viscosians are the only known species in the universe that seems to have evolved around other life. That said, the cephalons are a parasitic goo with tentacles that exist in a host. So they're not the only known species in the universe that have evolved around other life. after bonding, it's like very, very shit xenoanthropologists wrote this little spiel is the way that I would track this. After bonding to a willing host, a Viscosian and its host merge together over the course of a few years. Within a few weeks, the Viscosian and its host can communicate through crude emotions. Within 6 months, the two can communicate rudimentary concepts. Within a year, they can communicate fully, sharing a mind. Within a few years, they'll be inseparably bonded. The Viscosian and its host can separate for up to 24 hours without impacting this progression, though each full day of being separated results in a loss of a week's progress. So, appearance-wise, and so remembering that these are an NPC played by the GM who feeds info to the player, which can be a bit clunky if you're doing shit in real time, to be honest. But I feel like it's got possibilities. When unbonded to a host or temporarily seated from its host, separated even from its host, Viscosians resemble a small puddle of gel of a single color. When bonded, they can be undetectable or can manifest themselves anywhere on the outside of their host's body. Though they can make themselves invisible to the naked eye while bonded, they can be detected through biologic or telepathic scans. So there's a little bit of like the Goa'uld here for me in the Viscosians. The drawback of these is that the Viscosian has its own agenda known only to the GM, assuming the bond has existed for less than a year. It will give its host inklings of what it wants to do, and if the host does not help, they will suffer a -1 penalty to all checks until the Viscosian is satisfied that they are complying. Each day of non-compliance cumulatively increases the penalty. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of that whole gives you the opportunity to do the imposter / I'm betraying the party, but it's not actually my fault. It's this fucking thing in my head kind of thing, which is cool. Variants on species. So that's kind of the core species list. I think for my selection for the weekend game, the secondary selection would be the Skitchling, the bone breaking freakazoids. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the tiny mech dudes. And I don't remember stuff in my actual brain. I need stuff written down. I'll go back to it. We'll go over it. We may even put together the character or bones of the character. Well, that's a bad thing that just happened, but it's not important right now. But that's going to become a problem for the next sort of the skull session. Fuck. No, that's fine. Alright, so the variants on a species. In addition to selecting a species, you may also select one of the variants included below. Other than hybrids, there aren't any mechanical impacts to the variants. They do, however, offer additional role-playing opportunities. And if, that's truly something that this game, I think, does well, and as in most cases, especially when it's being run by someone who loves the game, who wants to see the players do cool stuff, is, with such fucking weird and wacky kind of species concepts, the opportunities for just batshit insane roleplay stuff off the back of those alone is immense, and that can be super fun. Between that as a core concept, the way that the ship operates as a core concept, you truly only need the barest of actual story elements, and you've got everything you need to have a fun time in a game. Properly, highly fucking recommend Teens in Space. I haven't played the OG Kids on Bikes version. I have only played Teens in Space, and I fucking love it every time. There's not been a session of this that I haven't properly enjoyed. They do because these will add layers of complexity to the game. We strongly suggest that you consult with the GM and the other players before selecting these. It may take the game in directions that don't interest them, and some of them might not be appropriate for the level of technology that everyone envisions existing in the universe. The higher the level of technology in the known universe, the more likely that the following options will be available to players, all of which represent high levels of technology being applied to life. Now, I feel like that in a universe where one of the species options are essentially gods that every other fucking thing that exists can use to fuel interdimensional travel, like there's already some kind of high fantasy-ish or high technology-ish opportunities just with the existence of that as a thing, right? And androids, like, I don't feel like androids are that difficult to work with, but we'll go through them. So androids, robots that appear to be another species. Forged, when a species creates technology in their likeness, androids are fully aware of their mechanical nature. Although many species with androids in their likenesses first created them as servants, most were given full freedom after, as their artificial intelligence matched and often exceeded that of their creators. Androids are usually fond of their creators' species and are often willing to work for them, both out of gratitude and to study them to become more like them. Some, however, resent their creators or think themselves superior to them. Others still are attempting to pass themselves off as their apparent species, either for personal reasons or because of their programming. The one thing I would say about androids specifically in Teens in Space, is the existence of the Calcians kind of makes androids a little bit redundant. And if you just want to kind of like LARP as a different species, then you've got the little guys that build, you know, their mech bodies that can do that as well. So in that sense, for me, I think you can get more interesting options from a roleplay perspective out of either of those two other species than just kind of dropping an android over, you know, an android template over one of the other species. But hey, you know, we don't do the yucking of yums, right? If that's your thing, absolutely go ahead and do it. Oh, what's that? You're a human? Oh wait, dude, you're actually an android? Whoa, man! Like, it's a super classic trope, and you may get a hell of a lot of enjoyment out of that. So absolutely go and do it. If you're gonna play this game though, I fucking strongly recommend that you lean into the weird, odd, strange fucking character types that are available to you. The clone, a scientific recreation of another existing creature. Considered by most species and most intergalactic laws as a fringe science, cloning technology allows for the creation of a new life form from sampled genes, either as a direct recreation of the original or as a genetic amalgam of a few originals. Some techniques even create a clone that believes it is the original, as it is created fully grown and implanted with the original's memories. A few cloning technologies are even so advanced that it is impossible to tell the difference between the clone and the original. I'm going to recommend that if you want to play with the concept of clones in a tabletop RPG setting, that you make your way over to the Meeples and Dragons website and pick yourself up a copy of Altered Carbon. I feel like that's definitely an option that you could explore. Same kind of deal. I think the concept of clones could really work as a fun kind of story thing, as like an antagonist kind of deal. I especially like the amalgamation clone. So it's like a clone of like an ancient fucking order of one of the other species that, you know, their planet was doomed. There was a meteor coming down or whatever. So they sent off. They didn't have enough money to send off like a generation ship and save the species, but instead, like, these 9 fucking dudes just save themselves by cloning themselves into one dude. You know, that kind of stuff. That could be fun to play with. All right, have a wonderful beauty sleep, Saz. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. You bloody legend. All right. Next, in the variation list is the cyborg. And so there are a couple of cybernetic options in that species list already as well. So again, I feel like most of these variants, there's just this little bit of kind of, yeah, is it needed? You've got this cool option over here. In truth, nearly every interstellar traveler has enhancements wired directly into their body. As such, by 21st century standards, everyone is a cyborg. In the future, those that embrace the term cyborgs are augmented creatures who relish their augmentations, seeking not to hide their implants but to maximize their aesthetic impact. Some will even get larger implants than needed to make them more obvious. Which, yeah, it's space. I dig that. I feel like if you're gonna do a cyborg thing, that you want like a mechanical impact of it, like you want to be able to switch out your body parts and go, oh, I cast Jack's arm, and smash someone in the face with my metal arm, which is much cooler than my 3 long-fingered jelly arm that I used to have, or whatever. There's heaps of options. In my mind as well. So the seemingly rocket-inspired kind of cybernetic animal species. There's absolutely no reason that you couldn't include a, humanoid or any of the other species in that list of things that was, illegally tinkered with. And I'd probably just use that species, flavor it a little bit more humanish, or one of the other things if I want to lean in that direction and go that way. And that way it gives you a bit more kind of story guts to it as well. The hybrid, multiple species intermixed through the wonder of space genetics. As species spread across the cosmos, those who were better able to breed with other species were better able to pass along their genetic material. Thus, they were selected for. Again, anyone making a game, man, I'll proofread your shit. I'll do it. Like, just send it my way. I'll be like, yeah, cool. Here's some things I noticed. Here's some feedback on all those words. Even if two species aren't able to organically procreate, there's always science! A hybrid is a combination of two species that has some traits of one and some of the other. Though the precise balance is up to you and the GM. When the two of you are determining traits, the other requirement is that you take a mixture of both good and bad from both species. This is essentially your sandbox option, right? Like if you look through that species list and you're like, nah, none of these actually speak to me at all, but I've got a sick fucking idea for my own, you're basically just starting from scratch and adding in your own species. You can run it as like a hybrid, like a genetic hybrid of different ones, but I feel like it'd be a bit more fun to have like your own. It's like the universe space is fucking big, man. There is a lot of fucking shit out there. We might not be aware of it because we're little dum-dums stuck on this one tiny rock, But it's big. Make some room for other shit. This is an interesting concept that I feel like you could probably, like, you could do as a reflavored the Calcians, I think, again. But I do like it as its own standalone kind of thing, especially if you've got a long-running game as like an NPC story element that you drop in, and it's like a secret that's uncovered along the way that you kind of get drawn into, and that becomes part of the fun. So Ctisis, robots that appear to be another species and genuinely believe they are that species. You could also do this with clones, or a clone variant. The only variant that you cannot know you have, a Ctisis, is a technological recreation of an original species. Ctisis is identical to an android save for one key difference. Ctisis believes they're actually the species they emulate. They will doggedly deny the truth if confronted with it, figuring out explanations for why parts of their body that are revealed to be mechanical are so, and absolutely believing these reasons. Depending on the katasis, being shown incontrovertible proof of their mechanical nature, the katasis could respond in several ways. They may insist that the proof has been fabricated in order to trick them. They may have a complete psychological break, or they may, after some difficulties, accept the truth that they are a katasis. After this point, they will function identically to androids. So this is a little bit kind of Westworld vibe that you can take in that direction at the outset. You can also do a bunch of stuff with that concept, and it's a really fun kind of idea that I dig quite a lot. And that's it. That's the species list. I think let's see if I can remember the name of the folk I'm going to go with here. It's definitely not the Abyssians. No, it's not the Inanos. Where are they at? I'm not like. There's probably three that I'm bouncing around between. The Calcians is one of them, but no. The Cephalons, it's a fun idea, but I feel like the whole kind of host and parasite thing has been done and done well by a few folk, and I am happy to not do that. Were they not up here? Where'd my guys go? No, they're the recreations. Where are my guys? Where are my robot guys? I'll find them. I really need to write the actual word down. It's been stuck in my head for a couple of days, but I'm just unable to find it now. So they're the insectoids. I'd love to fuck around with the Semexians, the hive-minded fucking ant/grasshopper folk. I think they'd be fun. I don't think the clouds that shit are my deal, to be honest. Frigorians. The Frigorians are a fun fucking idea. So this is essentially Frankenstein's monster kind of reborn folk. I really like that idea. The Herbaceans are your kind of awakened plants. The Informians are the blobs of color. What was their deal? Oh yeah, they're the blobs of color that poop fuel. Which is cute. Ah, here they go. This is them. The Loricatorians, or the Lorisatorians, if you prefer. So I'm going to reread this just to kind of get stuck in my head a little bit what I think I'm going to do with the character on the weekend. So prior to encountering other species, Loricatorians lived happily on their small remote planet, tinkering with machines and cultivating their already prodigious knowledge. As they met other species, all of whom were much bigger than them, they developed something of an inferiority complex. Though respected for their intellects and scientific achievements, the Loricatorians felt looked down upon, both literally and figuratively. To compensate when travelling off Loricatorii, they don mechanical suits, functionally identical to androids, that they control from safely within the suits. Now it says here these suits take the form of whatever species that specific Loricatorian admires for their physical stature. I feel like if I was going to run a Loricatorian character, it's just full on fucking mech suit. It's like I'm a little guy, and I feel sad about it, so I'm going to make myself a big old body. You know, like just a big old mech suit to stomp around in, and then pop out of that. And I'm just this little guy. Loricatorians tend to be quite matter-of-fact and generally view art as a waste of time. This is not to say that they do not make aesthetic considerations. Mates often select their partners based on the length and elegance of their fingers. The mechanical creations, though almost completely utilitarian, are often remarkably refined. However, it is exceptionally rare to find Loricatorians who call themselves artists. So I guess the other way that you could go is you do that kind of, you know, I'm the artist of the species. You know, I dislike whatever's happening here. I just want to sing songs and paint pretty pictures, and make statues and whatnot. They're also, in terms of their description. Okay, so Lorewrights appear to be miniaturized humanoids with disproportionately large heads and necks, and wide set eyes. Their fingers are longer than you'd expect for their other proportions and evolutionary development, as mates selected each other for their skill at working with machines. So you get. Okay, let's have a look if I'm thinking about this for the actual game. So bonus wise, I get them nugget stats. Whee! Skilled, which is part of your kind of skill tree. I think skilled, advanced. There's a couple of options. Really fucking vague memory. I could be making that up and thinking of Mothership maybe. I feel like expert is the other one. But yeah, I totally could be making that up. At creating and repairing technology, which, hey, if you're a teen in space, it's never not a good idea to be able to fix shit that's broken. And you get +1 to 2 non-brain stats while in the suit. So similarly to the Skitchlings, it's a good one to play for some kind of cool buffs that you can actually put to use in terms of mechanical gameplay, I guess. I feel like the Skitchling one, though, you've got more kind of roleplay opportunities with as well. Outside of the suit, because of the eyes, any kind of physical thing you are useless at. It doesn't give an actual height, and one of the other species is was it like 12 fucking inches, which is what? That's like a foot. Yeah, 12 inches is a foot tall. It doesn't say. I feel like sub foot though. Like these are real tiny little guy. I feel like this is like the Total Recall thing, except with a mech body instead of a flesh host. Whatever the fuck it was that was. The suits also require a power source. Now, this is where you can have opportunities to do very cool or very shady RP shit as well, right? So you can drain the power of the ship on the sly, maybe. You can make it part of your whole kind of deal as a group that you require power for the suit, so that becomes part of your ongoing kind of quest line, which can then immediately dump you over into the celestial things, the pantheons, pantheors, the celestial ones, where you want to go and hunt some down because that'll juice up your suit real fucking good. Plenty of cool fun things that you can do just with that. You can also just decide that your suit's run out of power halfway through a thing. If if things are going too well and you're like, nah, this is too much fun, let's make it more difficult for everyone, you can be like, oh no, my fucking suit's out of power, and just come to a complete stop and then have to jump out with your tiny little humanoid form. And off you go as a little smurf trying to do the space teen things. If you are drawing from the ship, that can directly actually create bad things happening, which is cool. So I think the Lorewrights is probably my first choice. Let me just take that down in my notes. And then what was the other one? The Skitchling, I think, was the second choice. Skitchling. Cool. We love that. I do like the idea of one of the species that kind of knows of the existence of the bind. So it feels like a Jedi inspired thing. There's no mechanical effect from it, or oh hey, how we doing, Hoyle Lepper? And greetings from this part of the world in let's say merry Australia. There's nothing that really makes us super merry, to be honest. But hi, and thanks for stopping by. I have been examining the Teens in Space list of species for a weekend fundraising set of games over at Ellie being the Dice Queen this weekend. It is very nearly the other side of the globe. Ellen is a trying to raise some funds for a theatre project that she's doing on the other side of this country, so not quite the other side of the globe, but Ellen's like on the, I'm pretty sure from memory, on like the west coast of Australia. I'm much closer to the east coast here. Why is that showing a white page on the stream? Oh, because it's severely delayed on what I'm watching. Okay, that freaked me right the fuck out. I was like, I can see the picture there, my guy. Why can't I see that? It's not a problem. So Ellen's doing some theatre stuff, trying to raise some cash for it, and in aid of that, has put together a weekend-long string of primarily indie games, which Roll to Cast, the podcast that they're involved in, do quite often. So they played some super cool stuff. And have run some super cool campaigns. You've never heard of Teens in Space, so you may have heard of, I think, the originator from, what are they called? I want to say it's Renegade Games, I think. Yep, totally, it's Renegade Games. You may have heard of Kids on Bikes. So it's generally pitched as like a 80s movie, like Stranger Things kind of vibe, bunch of kids making some mischief, rolling around the town on their bikes, getting up to no good, crazy shit happens to them, right? Teens in Space is that, but in space. And it's a fun system. You want someone who enjoys the idea of the system running it, I feel like. So Ellen and Matt Brown, who'll run the second session of Teens in Space. I'm doing like 2 back-to-back games, which is going to be super fun. 8 solid hours of being an absolute fucking dickhead, roaming around the reaches of space. You want someone who understands it, because a big part of both Kids on Bikes and Teens in Space is this kind of collective relationship building that you do with the characters as one of the immediate things that you do, which can be super fun. It's kind of an icebreaker as players, and it gets you over a bunch of those kind of initial hurdles that you have as characters, often if you're starting like a campaign. I've only really played kind of one-shots, 2-shot type stuff with this system. I haven't played a properly extended campaign. Some friends of ours and one of the DMs running Teens in Space for us on the weekend, Mr. Matt Brown, over at Split the Party TV. Let me just do a little shout out for them. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Matt did in fact run a kind of extended campaign. It went for, I want to say, somewhere between 6 and 10 sessions, on the back of a big charity event that a bunch of us in the Aussie kind of tabletop crowd had previously gotten involved in. So they did like a one-shot, and they all got together after this Teens in Space one-shot, and they were like, we don't want this to end, we need to do more shit. And so they did exactly that. It was super fun. No relationships to struggle with already in real life. You don't need that again, right? Well, relationship in the one shot that I played last, that I played Teens in Space in. The other cool thing about Teens in Space is some of the species concepts are fucking batshit insane. So, as an example, I played a species that is essentially a sentient pool of water. And so these creatures can be the size of a puddle, or they can be the size of a planet, and their consciousness arises from the life forms that exist within them, right? So in the end, I think my character was basically just a bucket full of water. Their existence started as a comet that had been traversing the universe since, the dawn of existence, and then just happened to crash into a moon, and was discovered by some dudes. And then they became a space cadet and got in trouble, landed in space cadet detention, and they're chatting with all these other dudes. And in that kind of relationship building thing, the question that was kind of spun up for me with the other character that we're doing this for was, how many times has that person tried to kill you? So it's not just good relationship building, some of that kind of early, character relationship stuff, a lot of which is covered in the Teens in Space book / PDF, depending on how you get hands on it, is pretty cool. It makes that stuff pretty easy, and it makes creating your character and setting those first kind of layers of inter-character stuff, it makes that fun. And again, if you've got someone running it who enjoys it and who gets the game, it's super cool. As the DM I gave once for a one shot you play as the race creation rules of Pathfinder. I'm in that boat where I'm pretty fucking keen to get involved in a decently put together kind of gutsy Pathfinder campaign, but I'm also mildly terrified. So this channel exists initially and foremost, so we haven't quite hit affiliate yet. It's literally only been up a couple of months. I kind of rebooted the first run at it, but my very first campaign, just a little baby basic D&D bitch running their first campaign, attempting to do the thing, which I'm having a lot of fun with, but I'm finding I'm dipping lore-wise and concept-wise into a lot of especially 3rd and 4th edition stuff. So I feel like I'd really enjoy Pathfinder just as a vibe in general. And occasionally I kind of pull little threads from some of the Pathfinder specific bits and pieces that I find along the way. The one-shot idea was that gods summon champions from all over the dimensions, now kill each other. Fun story. The way that I got involved in the broader Aussie tabletop crowd was, so the charity event that in a subsequent year I played Teens in Space in was initially for Jasper's Game Day or Jasper's Game Week, which is it's a charity thing that was set up in the US. Saz from a dice and trinkets, I guess, kind of company initially here, who's now one of my players and the producer on a channel that I'm a player on, essentially put together the Australian contingent of this charity week of games. And so it was a week-long set of games of Aussie creators from kind of, across the realm of Twitch in general, playing cool tabletop games. I'd only just started having clambered in on, super amateurish, not all that well put together kind of D&D campaign that we just started on a different channel. And I was like, hey, I'm here. I'd like to play with all of you amazing people. And that was kind of how I got in on the broader Aussie tabletop stuff. And the first kind of charity one-shot that I played in that first Jaspers that I jumped in on was almost exactly that same kind of thing. And it can be hella fun, just beating the shit out of each other, at high level especially. One PC was a living tea plant. Excellent. What we found, because they're charity games, one of the things a lot of the games do is you had donation reward options that would do crazy shit. And so while Magic Surges were super popular, because you've got a period of a couple of hours, you've got folk that are just playing mostly throwaway characters, and so fucking those people up as much as possible was a direct intention of a lot of the viewership, and that happened a lot. So we've got a lot of sheep based and pot plant based kind of memes in that kind of core group and beyond as a result essentially of those Jasper's charity games. Just stupid shit that came out of people having fun and raised money for charity, which was super cool. That is an automated message, so don't stress too much about that. It's there because in the past, both on this channel and other channels that I play a few games on. Occasionally, we get like kind of weirdos that jump in and they're like, "Hey, tell me about this thing that I'd like to know," and they get really fucking weird if the DM especially or the players don't instantly and sufficiently interact with them in chat. And so a bunch of us put up something similar to that just to kind of, you know, chill that vibe out as much as we can. I know because it's my first campaign that I'm running, the Sword of the Skulls campaign, the last session of which was last night, so it's still up as a VOD here on Twitch at the moment, and that reminds me I've got to export it over to the YouTube. But because I'm still working my way around, you know, running a campaign, it's weird to be doing a Twitch thing and not be paying attention to chat. Like I can get like deep into playing a game over on my channel, right? Like a PlayStation game or whatever. But I'll usually still have like a peripheral track of what's going down in chat, right? But yeah, it can be truly fucking difficult to be trying to stay a few steps ahead of these 6 properly chaotic assholes that I love very dearly, who make my life a better place by playing with them every time. Trying to stay enough steps ahead of them that they don't absolutely wreck me, which they will do on purpose at any given opportunity, and also to keep track of chat. So, you know, when those super weird folk do come in and, you know, try and make a thing of a perceived lack of interaction, that can add another layer of stress and anxiety that I don't think any of us want. But hey, I have actually finished running through the species list for Teens in Space. Something I noticed ahead of this set of games on the weekend was a distinct lack of essentially just like a species breakdown on YouTube. I was all ready to just hang out, do some dishes, have a listen, refresh myself on what the options were, and I couldn't find anything. So tonight was mostly about just doing that. I might put it up over on the tubes. So if anyone else finds themselves invited by someone who they think is absolutely fucking amazing to play with a whole bunch of other folk that they think are absolutely fucking amazing, to do a cool thing, like somehow fairly consistently lucky little old me, then they'll just have a list of the Teens in Space species that they can listen to. We did have Ham the DM in with us for the first part of that, who runs the Radiant Shadows campaign that I'm a player in. I play a Dwergar ranger named Delgrim Harrowfell. Let me do a little shout out for Meeples. Over there at Meeples and Dragons. Meeples and Dragons themselves sell dice. They sell... I don't have any of their glasses directly in front of me. What do I? No, I actually don't. But they sell dice, they sell glasses, they sell resell a couple of dice trays, a bunch of cool stuff. A lot of it's based here, which is always cool. Something I really want for this channel, now it's up and running, is to try and kind of promote where we can kind of local, you know, content and cool shit, Australian and New Zealand stuff wherever we find it. So to be weird is not the problem as long as it's not annoying. Yeah, well, and this particular one person that popped in, I think it was on one of the Meeple streams. Was it? No, it wasn't. It was on my stream. I think it was actually, it might have been. So Meeples and Dragons hosted the return of my campaign, and so it was only about 3 sessions in. Some stuff happened. I had to get in some new players, and they kind of very kindly hosted the return session of that while I got this channel set up. And yeah, and someone dumped in there, and they made it weird, was the thing. It was like absolutely fine with people asking questions, you know, whether it's, you know, seasoned players who are like asking questions about the world, the characters, NPCs, whatever it might be, or, you know, newcomers who are just like curious to understand what the fuck is going on, and, you know, and helping them do that thing. But this particular person, yeah, made it weird, and so that was a bit weird. Players are in-game arseholes only. If they're the so-called, most get pretty tame if one player nearly kills the whole party because of their bullshit. Hey, Insanity's ANZ. There's nothing wrong with a lusty bard wanting to sleep with every NPC the DM makes. I could not agree more. And absolutely vice versa. Speaking of lusty bards, so the Starweaver thing is happening this weekend. Beyond that, myself and a whole fucking bunch, if not most of the people that you see on that little Starweaver pic there, will be taking part in something much, much fucking bigger. I don't think I can do another shout out proper, and I don't think I've set up a shout out command on the channel, but I highly recommend checking out Winter's Tales. So it's... Oh, sweet. Okay. Twitch seemed to have killed the cooldown on shoutout commands. I love that. And I'm pretty sure that's even the correct channel name. Let me just double check. Yes, it is. Okay, so Winter's Tales on Twitch. Winter's Tales Co. on all the socials for the most part. AJ Winters is truly a fucking genius. AJ's brilliant. AJ did a bunch of those charity games for Jaspers through Meeples and Dragons that I was mentioning earlier. And AJ has some really fucking cool shit going on. One of the ideas she came up with far more recently was putting together Bridgerton and the Hunger Games, and basically getting a bunch of like tabletop RPG folk to play love interests that are like jumping in the fishbowl to try and, you know, hook a hand in marriage for the sake of their particular kind of nation. And so she also will have players playing the monarchs and nobility of these areas, and, you know, persons of political influence and whatnot. And then above that, you have a demigod layer in this D&D based world. And then above that, you have kind of the primary core council of gods. And it's very almost kind of Greek pantheon based, kind of the layer to it. And then you have, I think it's 3 like top gods in this kind of tier system. She has managed to pull together, and I shit you fucking not, more than 150 fucking people to throw into this thing. Some of it's going to be like live stream kind of competition to prove your worthiness or prove your love type stuff. Some of it's going to be pre-recorded, like the Hunger Gamesy, you know, commentator type situation. All the way through, viewers will be able to vote and or donate. I think half of whatever comes in is going to charity, but you'll be able to acquire for your favorite contestant in these, you know, love matching / at each other's throat games. You'll be able to acquire benefits and bonuses and such for the assorted players. I haven't had my character creation chat with AJ yet. I'm doing that with a bunch of folk from the Lorewrights stuff here, and a couple from elsewhere. It's going to be fun as heck. It is huge, and I'll tell you now, Insanity, on the topics of lusty bards. I was one of the first people in the Discord that was set up for this thing, and I watched like each of these people roll in, and I cannot fucking tell you how horny each and every one of these motherfuckers are. There is so much lust in this group of 150 odd plus people. It's going to be fucking awesome. I can't wait. You want to try and DM a game that looks fun? It is until you do it, and then you fucking panic. You don't know what you're doing. I'm up to my 8th session that I ran last night, and it is terrifying still, each and every time. But it is super fun. I think I like giving advice like I know what I'm talking about, but I have found having players who want to do cool shit and who I know are capable of doing cool shit and who I trust and have played with before is helping me a lot. I don't have to worry about as much stuff because I know that they've got my back as players. They're also trying to make my life a living hell, but at the end of the day, like I know that they've got me, if that makes sense. So that would be my recommendation: is try and find yourself in that same situation. If if you find yourself in the position that I often do, where I'm kind of freaking out about, is this good enough? Is this complex enough? Is this too fucking complex? Have I got too much shit going on or planned? They don't know, what I have planned. That's not even a thing to them whatsoever. And I guess the communication thing, kind of back and forth with players, is super useful and important. Try and DM a simple game for your boys to practice. Fucking absolutely give it like, I'm never not going to recommend giving it a crack, regardless of who you are, regardless of what you like. 100% do it. Give it a go. My first kind of proper real life game is going to be for Wifey and a bunch of her mates. We've kind of got half planned out. Absolutely isn't scheduled yet because that's the Satan of any kind of game, right? But that's going to essentially be some kind of fantasy fashion show / intrigue and murder thing. And I haven't run a game IRL before. So that'll be a different version. Like here, I have like a modicum of control. I can click a button, go to a be right back screen, and recover from whatever like little emotional / mental like meltdown I'm having. Can't do that around a table with a bunch of mates, I guess. So I feel like it would be a very different set of things running it around an actual table. All right, I am going to find someone to raid out to, because the boys is the sons. How many of them man-childs do you have to play D&D for? Because I feel like that's a valuable untapped resource. Like, there is so much. See how my entire attitude changed? I was like, oh yeah, that's a resource you can exploit in figuring out how to run games. Because yeah, you'll figure that out. Never played IRL with people. I only got into like a year or so ago, but it's always been online. So my first kind of proper set of games was in real life, and I played some like Call of Cthulhu, a couple of other things as well, kind of around an actual table before doing the online version. And many years before that, had done Warhammer 40k mostly, and mostly even more than that, Necromunda. So it's like if you're unfamiliar, a scaled down futuristic Warhammer stuff. So like, I'm not unfamiliar with the concepts and the ideas, and I was always like a fantasy book nerd kid. So all of this stuff has swam around in my head for decades. But yeah, the mechanical side of actually running the thing and being responsible for making the story happen if the players don't kind of fumble their way into doing it themselves, it's a whole thing. But yeah, young kids, absolutely perfect practice. 100% take advantage of that opportunity in that scenario. I would buy those children for gold that I've spun from straw for the opportunity to do that and run some stupid ideas past them. I wouldn't do that. Human trafficking is highly illegal, regardless of the context. Okay. I'm going to find someone to raid out to. I'm just kind of rambling at this point in time. Hey, thanks for stopping by though, and thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. We've had some fun. Next, for this channel specifically, I'll do, after each of the sessions, one of the things I was going to say I like to do, but I'm like driving myself to actually do it, is edit down like an abridged version of that session, because it is grueling to kind of, especially if you are coming into a campaign. So we're only 8 sessions in, right? But stuff has happened. And having 40 to 50-minute versions of those previous sessions to kind of catch up if you're interested in catching up is much fucking easier than the idea of sitting through 8 4-hour fucking sessions of that thing. And at some point, especially from the early stuff from the other channel that we don't speak about for reasons that we won't speak about yet, will be kind of super cut to condense it down. So every probably maybe 5 to 10 sessions or so, I'm thinking I'll do like a super cut of those. So it's like a previously on the Sword of the Skulls, blah blah blah, and we'll have those on YouTube and eventually here when we actually hit affiliate and can kind of upload stuff and have VODs for more than 4 seconds, etc. We'll be up to kind of make that a bit easier and to play with. So that'll be next for this channel. We've also got so we played, I might even have the pic of it sitting here. Do I don't think I do. No, I absolutely don't. So we ran a Call of Cthulhu adventure that was written by the local historian in my neck of the woods, and the young gentleman that actually ran the session for us. It's a one shot. They did it on stage. Shannon, who did the keeper role for us, ran it on stage in about 2 hours. I said to him when I asked if he wanted to run it here, we'll dick around a bit. We might stretch it out to 3 hours. We did more than that, and we've had to split it into 2 sessions. So we're just setting up the scheduling for part 2 of that. Part 1 is up on the YouTube channel, I think, currently. I haven't done the edit for that yet, but we will very much do that thing. That's got some very cool people in it as well. What else? What else we got in mind? Ash, who makes stuff, and also is one of my absolutely brilliant players, playing Lilith, who is a very cool character that has so many secrets that I'm sad I can't talk about yet until they come out. I just want all of Lilith's secrets to come out so that I can actually talk about the things. I can't wait. Ash is keen on running a bunch of stuff here as well, so that'll be fun. Hamish has also talked about running some sci-fi stuff, so that'll be fun. And that's basically it on the cards. I think I'm pretty sure the next Sword of the Skull sessions is going to be within the next 3 weeks based on the availability so far. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff coming here. Me, kind of in general, over in my thing, I'll I explain it like I'm a casual variety streamer on my channel, but the reality is I binge games. I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 now more or less since it came out, and I'll continue to do so until I've adequately satisfied my need to play assorted different playthroughs, or until probably the Dune survival game comes out. One of the things I mentioned to Dune Awakening, I think it's called, from Funcom. So I was chatting with Hamish about, when I started the streaming thing, I'd play Conan Exiles before work, and more or less only that, and I fucking loved it. I love the shit out of that game. I still do. It's just an incredible time sink. And I feel like that exact same thing is going to happen with Dune Awakened, and I can't fucking wait. It's going to be fun. I'm going to build some shit. I'm going to climb fucking everything. It's probably my favorite thing about Conan Exiles is that climbing mechanic, where pretty much every fucking terrain surface building, with the exception of certain kind of things that you use to build your own bases, you can climb. And the verticality of that is amazing. I'd spend hours and hours just exploring, one fucking face of mountain. I feel like the map, it's disappointing, the size of the world. It could be so much bigger, and if it was, it'd be a forever game. You'd never not be playing it. but the combination of kind of the reality of the map size and the toxicity of the player base, who tend to kind of jump between that and Rust. All right, we're gonna rate out to Realm of Rust, I should say. Who I came across originally making really fucking cool maps. If you're into cool cartography shit, highly recommend giving this channel a follow. Stick around, give them a watch, say hi for me, because I'm going to take a little break and probably not engage too much in the chat, but let me go do that real quick. Again, thanks for hanging out. It's been a fun time. I'm looking forward to this weekend. An 8-hour solid block of playing what will probably be like a tiny little humanoid figure in a giant mech suit for 8 hours, and then immediately jumping over the next day to a fairly kind of small indie system and story. It's gonna ruin me. I can't wait. I fucking love it. All right, good night.